Welcome to Armchair Expert. Experts on Expert. I'm Dan Rather. I'm joined by Monster Mouse.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's sunny.
And you were sun worshiping down in Hawaii, so you have a savage base.
I do.
You do.
What's that mean?
Savage base tan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you got to work on your savage base.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, summer's coming.
I don't know about that because I'm brown.
You never needed to get a base. Real white people like me, you got to get that base before you can go raw dog out in the sun. If you just step out there, don't build to it, you're going to get burnt to a crisp.
Okay.
But even as a honky, a Caucasoid, I can get a nice enough base that obviously I wear sunblock now. I'm an adult.
You have to.
And the times have changed. But in Michigan in the 80s and 90s, there was no fucking sunblock.
Wow.
No, we never wore sunblock.
Sure.
So all you could do is get that savage base and then let it rip.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Cool.
My dad was infamous for the savage base because he was a bald man who golfed a lot.
Oh.
And he had to build up that dome base so he wouldn't get burnt.
So what would he do? Like go outside for 6 minutes every day?
I can't imagine it was very methodical. I think he just got really burnt the first golf day and then it settled into a savage base.
Yeah, turned into a savage base.
Yes. Okay, today's guest is Rick Rubin. Who is, and I give some quotes. I mean, you got Dr. Dre saying he's the greatest producer to ever live. I mean, he is a 9-time Grammy Award-winning producer and record executive. He's worked with everybody. It's one of the most impressive lists.
I feel like it's him and Jimmy Iovine that are like the names that you would know if you don't know anything about the industry.
Yeah.
They stand apart.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Or even, I might call him a Quincy Jones. Anyways, he has got a book out right now called The Creative Act, A Way of Being, which is fantastic. It's how to stay inspired and be creative. And it's a really cool look at being creative. And Ding Ding Goose, we had a guest on since we interviewed Rick who had read this book. It came up. Do you remember?
Oh.
Yeah, like a guest of ours had read it and loved it independently of our...
I forgot about that.
Yes. So please check out The Creative Act, A Way of Being, and enjoy Rick Rubin. But before we go, we have a new month upon us, which means new prompts for Armchair Anonymous, and they are as follow. Please remember, go to www.armchairexpertpod.com to submit your stories. We want to hear crazy TSA story, a crazy movie-going experience, an emergency public evacuation, and craziest one-night stand. So TSA, movie-going experience, emergency public evacuation, and the craziest one-night stand. Please submit those, and we look forward to talking to you and hearing these juicy stories.
Yes.
Hit us with those, and we will talk to you. Please enjoy Rick Rubin.
He's an armchair expert.
How long have you been doing this?
5 years on
Valentine's
Day, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You turned me down a touch? Or just, not me,
is-
not
I
my
love
voice,
this.
but the overall volume.
His headset volume.
Yeah.
We got all pro today.
Yeah, once in a while we get somebody who's...
knows what they're doing.
This is their occupation, and it's always funny
I
to
just
hear
don't like
it.
listening to loud stuff right against my ears.
That's kind of counterintuitive. I have to imagine in the studio it's pretty loud, no?
It depends on the music. I don't hear myself at all. I hear you guys at a good level.
You've gone away completely.
No, I was never. Oh, now there I am.
Oh, there you
okay.
are.
Hello.
Hi.
Now we're all here.
Yeah.
Now we're all here in this magic head space.
When you're in the studio, you're listening to monitors, right? You're never with headphones.
Always monitors, never headphones, unless there are certain times when it's loud in the control room. Like if one musician is playing live in the control room and I need to hear everything that's going on not in the control room, then I would wear headphones.
Right. The reason I like them is I find that it concentrates your one sense above all others. To me, it creates this kind of altered state.
Yes.
Where every other auxiliary thing has been kind of silenced.
Yes. I just worked on a project where we were filming a conversation and I was a football field away from the person I was speaking to. And having ears in and being mic'd made it where we could talk like this and we could barely see each other across the room. And it felt right.
And then how will that look? Because that'll look crazy.
It's an interview, but the person being interviewed, it'll look like a soliloquy.
You'll be edited out of it. Got it. Oh, interesting.
What crossed my mind on the walk from the house to here wasn't in my research, it wasn't in anything I wrote down, that you were in Dave, which is a show we fell in love with last year.
I wasn't.
Wait,
Yeah.
why? I haven't seen it.
You haven't
Sorry.
watched Dave, right? Okay. Have you watched it?
I've not watched it, but I've heard about it. I've heard about it.
Yeah, because in theory, Dave goes to work with you.
Is it me by name? Might be.
I think it's you by name. I think he's at Shangri-La. I mean, I think that's
I
the
don't
whole.
think that's really Shangri-La.
He's not actually there.
But he's saying he's there.
But I think.
Oh, I see.
You know, fuck. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting everyone in legal trouble.
Everyone's getting sued.
No.
I'm kidding.
I haven't seen it, so I can't say, but I believe they actually asked to do it with me. I'm never around, and it didn't even register because I know, well, I'm not going to be in California, so I know that's not going to happen. So
Yes.
it didn't even really land in me that was what it was.
Let's add, with total honesty and candor, they would have been pitching you that before the show had come out.
Maybe a year before.
And now it turns out, roll of the dice, against the odds, the show's brilliant. Okay, but you're being pitched something that has a 1% chance of being good.
Yes.
And your time's finite, and that's a very hard call to make. That's a big leap of faith. You have to know the person pretty well and go, you know what, I actually think they're going to execute this. Now, they call you season 2. It's a different conversation. Famously, this might interest you. The Coen brothers have gotten along with everyone. They work with the same people over and over again. Nicolas Cage being the big exception. This was a big mystery to me for years. Why didn't those three get along? And Nicolas Cage at some point said, everyone after Raising Arizona had the benefit of Raising Arizona. I don't know that these guys are geniuses yet.
He didn't have confidence in them.
Yes, which is pretty understandable, all things considered. Ironically, that combination works out brilliantly somehow.
That's a thing sometimes you never know. Sometimes it's the friction that makes the art great.
Yeah.
You look at all the great bands and the key members often hate each other.
Isn't that peculiar? And what do you think it is? Just some of them, they're smart enough to keep it all together.
Some do, some don't.
It seems at least Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, at least they never really speak that affectionately about one another in public.
Correct.
And then Metallica famously had all kinds of infighting, that great documentary. But you could tell they somehow had an ego that was like, the band's still bigger than myself. I feel like that's the quintessential ingredient that keeps them together, maybe.
Maybe so. I'm sure ego is part of it, but I don't know if it's the whole story.
Not to make it about us, but we have a show with a therapist, and she was here, and we were in a fight.
Yeah.
And so we took the time to say,
great.
I know.
It was so convenient for us.
It was.
Yes.
We were like, okay, sidebar, now that we've talked about your show, we have an issue. Can you help us? And she basically said, like,
Great
you're
analogy.
in a band.
Well, she said you're in the Beatles.
Yeah.
Your thing is number
I
one,
made
it's
it
working.
humble.
Yeah.
You're in the Beatles. Don't fucking break up the Beatles. Get over whatever shit you... for me, it was
interesting.
incredibly useful, and it's been kind of my mantra anytime we're at odds.
Yeah.
I'm like,
We're in the Beatles.
the thing is bigger than us.
Figure it out.
I need to be even more self-protective about the unit than I am about my own feelings. You know, I got to prioritize the global thing.
Did you see the documentary about the Clash called Westway to the World?
No.
It's beautiful. And at the end of it, you hear Joe Strummer talking about the Clash, and he left the band. And he's talking about crying like we didn't know what we had. We didn't understand.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
It really was. Seeing it was brutal.
Yeah. I listened to you and Malcolm talk about the book.
We love Malcolm.
Love Malcolm. And so let's just get right there, because I thought it was my favorite part of the whole conversation, which is you guys are going through how creativity actually works, or at least one aspect of it, which I am totally in lockstep with you, which is you actually start by trying to imitate somebody that you love or some bit of art that set you on fire, who you connect with, and then you try to replicate. But invariably, it's going to go through the filter of yourself, and then it comes out as another thing, which is incredible. And you pointed out that had you never heard The Clash, you would have no interest in reggae, because The Clash is doing their version of reggae.
Yes.
You listen to that, fall in love with it, and then that kind of opens now the door for you to reggae. And I think this is like one of the most hot button topics, but I think it's as abstract to a lot of us who have imitated others and created something different. And that is this term of appropriating other cultures' music.
Yes. It seems insane to me. You're only doing it because you love it. You're doing it to celebrate it. How is a celebration of something inappropriate?
I guess maybe the argument, I would imagine they go, it's unfair because when you put it in the white package of Justin Bieber, he's not even accused of that, but let's just say, when you put it in that package that America feels safe with, then that person gets to profit in a way that the source material musician would never be able to.
Was that a Freudian slip and that you're really like challenged by Justin Bieber? He's like your arch enemy?
We weirdly do have a history, but I
feel like it. I feel like that there's some reason you chose
He just
him.
slipped out.
No, I actually adore him.
Yeah.
I adore him. Do you want to know? It's really
Well,
funny.
he does have Despacito.
Oh, yes, that's
So,
the
I mean,
Spanish. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But he was renting a house in the neighborhood we live in. And while he was renting that house, there was paparazzi fucking everywhere. And it made my wife and I's life miserable. I happened to mention it at one point in public. It started a very fake feud to which he had to start responding when he would get an interview like, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard say you've ruined their neighborhood. That's not what I said. Just, wow, there's a lot of paparazzi. So it did create kind of a little fake thing for a while. But no, I actually saw Belieber or whatever the movie was and fell in love with that kid.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He is, right?
Incredible talent.
When you see him drumming as a child, I'm like, oh, I'm in. This kid's a savant.
So great.
Have you worked with him?
We've been in the studio together and experimented. Great musical instincts, always. So it's good experience.
Okay, so now back to the music. If anyone who really has that opinion held firmly that, let's just be black and white about it, maybe white kids shouldn't be trying to create music that's been conventionally from the black culture, that's a really weird request of someone who's just listening to music. And we're saying basically, you can't respond to that music. That can't be your inspiration.
It just seems like making the world a smaller place, not bringing people together.
And keeping it innately segregated.
It's definitely an us versus them versus we are all one.
Yeah. In music, if anything, should be something that's like got no boundaries around it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think in art in general, when we're making creative things, it's about expressing however we see the world. And clearly, how we see the world is impacted by all of the experiences we've had in life, all the things that we've liked, all the things we haven't liked. Everything adds to our artistic voice.
Yeah. A take you have in the book, which Malcolm was also fascinated by, is you don't believe art is intrinsic as much as it is extrinsic.
It all comes from outside. It doesn't
There we
come
go.
from inside of us. We wear antenna both for spiritual information that guides us, instinct that guides us, and all of our life's experiences, everything we've seen, everything we've noticed, everything we've liked or disliked. When I'm working on a new creative idea, I often think about all the things I don't like to know, okay, I know it's not going to be like this, it's not going to be like this, it's not going to be like this, it's not going to be like this. What's left? The ruling out is part of it too. At least I know it's not going to be like the things I don't like. Then the next mission is, what's the version that's good that's not like any of the ones that came before it?
Yeah, because there is kind of a misanthropic worldview where you hate everything, right? And then what you're left with, you couldn't probably honestly say you love.
I love the things I love.
Clearly.
I love a lot of things, and there are versions of things that I see and I shake my head. But not because they're not good or not because they're wrong or because they're bad. They're just not for me. That's not my taste. Someone else can love them, and that's great, and I support that.
Yeah, I often get into fights with fellow actors about this. It's like there's some notion that if you're on a popular TV show that your in-group isn't watching, it's less valid. And it's like anyone watching anything who's laughing, that laugh is equal.
Absolutely.
Because all the humans are equal, so you can't really say there's a hierarchy.
Laughter bridges the gaps. There are no lies in the laughter. It's not a thinking process.
Yes, this is evolutionary reaction that's
Yes.
happening. Okay, so the book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, it's not prescriptive in this is how one does art A, B, C, D. It's more about creating the environment for yourself, whereby art will emanate from that kind of being.
Yes, it's an invitation to participate. The reader is as much a participant in the meaning of what's being said as the writer. If you've ever read the Tao Te Ching, every time you read it, it's a different book.
Oh, I haven't. And now I want to.
It's a beautiful book. My favorite version is the Stephen Mitchell translation. It's the most translated book in the world, I believe. Maybe
wow.
Rumi is first and then the Tao.
Okay, so for anyone who's listening, I think it's worthwhile to go through your story a little bit, because I think that would give credence to why one might listen to you about how to create a creative environment. Because I'd argue that you're in a better position to write this book than even a great singular artist. You've actually been exposed more than any other artist might be to multiple approaches to making art, and to some degree having to corral people and help people find their way to the best versions of themselves.
Like fine-tuning to each individual person.
Yes,
as
bringing
opposed to
out the art in somebody,
Yeah.
help facilitate that process. So I think both as what you've created, but even maybe more impressively, the environment you can create that helps other people be creative is kind of unparalleled, I'm going to say. So I want to go through it a little bit. First and foremost, what does a music producer do?
I can't tell you what a music producer does, because I think it's the kind of thing that different ones do it differently.
Okay.
So there are some who start as engineers in the recording studio, and then they grow up and they become a music producer. There are some who start out as great musicians and then grow up and become a music producer. I came at it from the point of view of being a fan. I just loved music, and I started doing it that way. So I don't know which other producers have done it that way, and I don't know which tools they use that I use.
Now, some producers, like in hip hop, let's say Kanye.
Yep.
Kanye's a producer, but he also is making tracks. Are those the same
His
thing?
name is Ye now, by the way.
Okay, Ye. Ye or Ye?
Yay.
Okay, so Ye is making beats as well.
Yes.
So he's then a producer of that song by virtue of the fact that he made those beats.
Yes.
Okay, but there's another way to be a producer, or
Yes.
multiple other
Yes,
ways.
and I've done all of the different ways that you can be a producer. I've done all of those. In the early days of hip hop, I made the beats. That was part of what the job was. But then George Martin, who worked with the Beatles, he didn't make beats. He helped them with the material, getting the best performance of the band, and then maybe in his case, adding some orchestration, like all of the orchestra stuff that we get to enjoy in the Beatles was more of a George Martin concoction.
And there's also a mechanical side, right? So you're overseeing the recording.
I would say that's the least of it. It's closer to a movie director than a producer. The music producer's responsibility is getting the best creative thing possible. Performance, material, the finished package of this is the best way to present this material, or at least this is the way we see it.
Okay, so if we use the director analogy, there are many different types of directors. They have a host of different jobs. Some of them are quite visual, right? Like David Fincher, he is deciding exactly what's going to be photographed. That is one of his huge strengths. There are other directors who really just trust their DP. They say, I want it to look like this, and then that's that. Their main focus now is getting performances out of the actors. Their other job was probably being a part of the development of the script so that they have a script they want to shoot. And then the technical aspect, they're going to be in the finishing of the movie. So they're going to be a part of the edit. They're going to sit in the edit and they're going to make a lot of creative choices. And then they'll be a part of the testing and all that. So in that way, I guess I understand that your strength could be visual, like many
You could
are.
have two directors where it would be a completely different job description.
Right.
Same as that.
Okay. So first and foremost, you start on Long Island.
Yep.
And in high school, you get yourself in a punk band called Prick.
The Pricks.
The Pricks. Okay. So sorry. It's plural. It's not singular.
Well, there
Multiple
were
pricks.
there were four of us.
Well, two of you might not have been pricks. I don't know.
You never met the band.
But you do that as a teen. And then you start Def Jam Recordings.
I started Def Jam when I was at NYU.
But importantly, that band does whatever it does. It kind of fizzles out. And then you started another band called Hose.
Correct.
Okay, this was my world. In your experience with Hose, you're touring, you guys go to California, you're all over the place. And I believe it's there that you come to know Ian MacKaye.
I knew him even before that.
You did?
Yeah, I knew him living in New York and being a punk rocker. If you went to a punk rock club, there was always the threat that the guys from DC would show up. And if the guys from DC showed up, there would be fights.
Oh, wonderful.
Because that's just the way it was.
Was this at CBGB or other places?
Could be CBGB's, could be the Ukrainian National Home. That's where I saw the Misfits play. That's probably the first time I ever spoke to Ian outside of the Misfits show at the Ukrainian Home on the Lower East Side. Irving Plaza was another one of the clubs.
Uh-huh.
There was a place called A7. There were a bunch of
little
clubs downstairs
circuit.
where punk rock might happen.
Wait,
Right, and
why
so
were there
Ian McKay-
fights?
Because it's young, testosterone-filled
Sure.
people with a lot of aggressive music, and slam dancing was a thing.
Yeah. You're wearing combat boots. You've
Yeah,
got screws in the bottom of your combat.
And it's an us versus them situation.
Well, it's because he's in New York.
It never felt like that unless the DC guys came.
Right.
And I was a wallflower. I was not a slam dancer. I was not a fighter. I was not a participant in any of this. I just knew, okay, if the DC guys are here, I have to stand further back.
Sure, you
Then
weren't
if they're
you weren't
not
getting
there.
involved.
No, never.
Okay.
So I too was very into the punk rock scene. So Ian McKay was the lead singer of Minor Threat. So my very first show, my older brother takes me when I'm 11. We go see Exploited.
Yeah, amazing.
It's fucking terrifying.
And was it the original Exploited?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm so scared. You know, it's the most scary
You're
for an
a
11-year-old to
little
go
boy.
to. Dudes have screws in the bottom of their combat boots so they can stand on your foot. And yes, big, huge mohawks. But the first punk rock music that I actually liked the sound of was Minor Threat, Fugazi, Palehead, anything Ian McKay did. To me, he was so elevated.
He's the best of, we'll call it second wave punk, because we already had English punk. The Ramones in the English punk scene were like the first wave, and then the second wave of like hardcore.
Yes. And that's what we called it, hardcore.
Do we
But
think that draws an inordinate amount of people with trauma?
Yes, I think people attracted to that scene are misfits, outcasts.
But they're okay in chaos, so they must be used to some level of chaos.
Also an age thing. It's like when you're a 14-year-old boy, you might like really aggressive stuff. It's that age.
Yeah.
I also like pro wrestling. It feels like it's a similar thing.
You beat me to it. I was going to say, I know about you that you loved pro wrestling. And what was great, Monica, about those early punk bands is like the music, for me at least, was totally secondary. Each band had a gimmick. It's almost like they were big time wrestlers that had some take on it.
Right.
So they dress a certain way. Or Shelter were Hare Krishnas. Like, wow, I got to go see the Hare Krishna hardcore band. These guys are wearing those outfits. Sick of It All had its own thing. Like everyone had a little
Black Flag.
Yes. Oh, Black Flag, just the iconography, everything.
Incredible.
Yes, it was.
Branding, really.
Yeah, it's almost like if you had collected like Garbage Pail Kids or were into any kind of collectible, hardcore was perfect because every band had to have a little fingerprint kind of style.
The best ones did.
You're right. There's a bazillion forgettable ones in that mix. And the entry level to the music's quite low as far as the musicality.
Yes. And that was one of the things that was so attractive about it to me is that this is for everybody. Anybody can be part of this. And the same thing happened with hip hop. It felt like this is for everybody. You don't have to go to music school. You don't have to be a virtuoso. And I like that feeling. It was like a version of playing.
Yeah. And I'm not at all the first person to make this comparison, but to me, hip hop and punk rock, they're two peas in a pod.
Absolutely.
You have like the black version and the white version. It's the same exact thing.
It's the same thing. Can we make it less cold?
Yes.
Or at least
We have a...
it's just blowing right on me. Something is blowing cold right on me.
It snowed in Los Angeles yesterday.
Wow.
I know.
And I'm just coming from Costa Rica, so I'm
wow.
particularly...
I applaud your lack of codependency because, like, I would find myself freezing somewhere and then I would just
I
deal
know,
with it
I'm
because
glad
I'd be
you
too
said
afraid
it.
you wouldn't like me. I'm like impressed by what I just witnessed.
Yeah,
Why do I care if you like me?
Yeah, you can advocate for yourself.
I'm here to be myself.
Yeah.
I hope you like me, but I'm not going to change me so that you like me.
Right. You're not going to pretend you're warm when you're cold. So
No.
I'll like you. And it's
Yeah, that's-
admirable. You realize a lot of people struggle with that.
Most people.
Therein lies what my job is and what the job of creativity is knowing yourself, being okay with yourself, and being able to say, feels cold in here. That's all my job is.
Yeah.
It really
Wow,
is.
it just happened. It was like when
That's
Stutz.
fascinating.
It was like when Jonah started actually participating and let Stutz
Yeah.
therapize him. You know, you can talk about therapy for a long time. You can talk about his tools, but until there's a click in the dock where we start seeing them being used, and then you can understand them in a way that's profound. So yes, we could have talked about your book all day long.
Also, I've been asked about how do you have confidence in your taste? And it's like, I'm either cold or I'm not cold. It's so clear. It's like, I'm getting chilly. I feel like there's cold wind blowing on me. And it has no more meaning than seems cold in here. There's no greater meaning. There's no insult. It's so face value.
Yeah.
This is what's happening, and I'm responding to what's happening. That's all.
Within that is a tool, because for most people, it is much more cluttered than that. Every little thing, am I cold or am I not? Because a lot of people go, I'm cold. Huh, they're not. Why am I cold? They're not. Oh, do I have an iron deficiency? You know, it could lead to a million thoughts.
It's true.
Or like, this is their space and I can't be the one to call it out.
Like Letterman famously, did you ever do Letterman in the day?
I never did, but I know we kept it freezing.
It was like 50 degrees in there, right? And you went in knowing this motherfucker likes it ice
And
cold.
if you'd have said to me, you know, we really like doing the show cold.
Right.
We could get you a blanket. It's like, okay. Like I would roll with it, but
Yeah.
I'm still telling you.
say it.
Yeah, I'm not going to walk out. I think it's okay
Yes,
It
I
is.
talk about these things.
I
Yes.
love it. I love
It
it.
should be easier. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay, so I bring up the punk rock hip hop thing because to me it's quite easy to understand that right after your hardcore phase, you kind of get really, really interested in hip hop very early on in New York when it's really just all your first wave. You meet Russell Simmons, you guys kind of partner up, and the first person you put out is LL Cool J.
The first thing I did was I would go to hip hop clubs all the time, and I loved the experience of going to the hip hop clubs. And then I decided I wanted to make a hip hop record because I'd already made a couple of punk rock records, and I just liked the experience of doing it. And I felt like going to the hip hop clubs, there was a certain energy and a certain musicality that was different than the rap records being made. So now looking back, what it was more like a documentarian, seeing, okay, they're making movies about this, but I'm here, and it's nothing like the movies. Let's just do a documentary of what it's really like, because what it's like is better than the movies.
Right.
That was the feeling.
Yeah.
So the first hip-hop record I made was called It's Yours by T-La Rock and Jazzy J. And then based on that, I started getting demo tapes sent to my dorm room because people liked that record. And one of them was from LL Cool J.
Oh, my God.
And then Adam Horovitz, who was Ad Rock and the Beastie Boys, was living in the dorm with me. And he said, I think you should listen to this one. This one's really good. It was LL. It said Ladies Love Cool J on the cassette.
Yeah, that's what it stands for, babies.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then
I didn't even know that.
You didn't?
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Ladies
Well,
Love
you
Cool
knew
J.
it intrinsically
I mean,
looking at them.
ladies do love Cool
That's
J,
right.
but I didn't
It's
know that was what it stood for.
The description matched.
So I invited LL to come to the dorm room.
Uh-huh.
And he came to the dorm room and he knocks on the door, and I open the door and he's like, you're Rick Rubin? I was like, yeah. He's like, I thought you were black. I was like, I'm not.
Yeah.
So he came in and then we became friends. I made his first record, and that all happened before I got to meet Russell.
When you described that little tableau, what I think was cool about that moment is that youth was the biggest identity marker at that moment. Youth, excitement for the world you're entering, ambition, creating new things, that kind of can transcend all the other identity demarkers, race, ethnicity, your sexual preference. I don't know. I remember being downtown Detroit, meeting people, and it's like none of the other shit was relevant. It was like, we're going to St. Andrews tonight.
Following whatever your passion is, whatever it is.
Okay, so you put out LL Cool J, and then quickly thereafter, you're working on Run DMC's album.
And I was the DJ in the Beastie Boys at that time.
You also encouraged them to veer from punk into hip hop.
They were a punk band, and they made their first hip hop song called Cookie Puss. And
of course,
to perform it live, they needed a DJ, and they asked me to be their DJ. So that's how I started working with them. I was the DJ for their live band, but I didn't DJ when they were playing. And then it was time to do Cookie Puss, then I would DJ. And then we started doing some rap songs where I would DJ. And as it was happening, we all were punk rockers, and it seemed for all of us, all we listened to was rap music.
Right.
So at some point, I was like, maybe it'd be true to like do this.
Yeah.
This is what we're feeling.
Was that a hard, though, decision at all, or was it easy?
It just seemed obvious. It's like it's cold in here. Why still this?
Yeah.
And if someone said, because this is what I like, it's like, okay. But no one said that. It's just like, okay, let's do it this way.
Yeah. And not to be too critical to that music of that time, but I will say hip hop is superior musically at that moment in time than a lot of the punk rock is. There's a lot more happening.
Who's to say? Because for someone, the punk rock is it. But again, I think you can't pit musics against each other. The best hip hop record isn't better than the best Fugazi record at being Fugazi.
Agreed.
So, do you know what I'm saying? It's it's just apples and oranges.
I do, but what I'll push back on it is if you have an enormous creative appetite and you're looking at the structure of punk rock at that time and you're looking at what the band looks like and what's being consumed, there's not a ton of room for growth, nor was there. That was the appeal. It's no barrier to entry. Get out, you're playing power chords. That's great. Fugazi kind of broke that mold a bit, and that's why we talk about them. But there were lots of things happening in hip hop that became incredible. People are sampling jazz. I just think if you were creative, you could have sensed the explosion in options is there.
I'll tell you, I didn't notice it. Hearing what you're saying, that sounds right. It was not an intellectual. It was as simple as, this is what we're listening to. It was exciting us. It was a visceral reaction. So everything in my life has been based on that. It's never been based on what I think it is. That always comes after.
Yeah, as you're trying to make sense of why you made the emotional decision.
Yeah, why did we do this? Why do I like this? But liking it is not intellectual. Liking it is, it tastes good, it doesn't taste good. It's cold, it's warm. It's a reaction.
Right.
Can we deviate for just 1 second? And I want to know about your parents, because you have so much innate confidence, it seems, even, which is incredible, from an early age, even in college, where everyone's kind of like, figuring themselves out.
You're hosting A&R meetings in your dorm room.
Exactly, exactly. Like, who do you credit for that?
Had to be my parents. I'm an only child. You could say I would have been a spoiled only child, other than I wasn't a bad kid.
Right.
But my parents certainly were, the sun rose and set on me.
They doted on
and
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and whatever I thought was the way it was going to be.
Going back to it's hot or it's cold in here, that helps. Because again, the reason I got to go through analysis is I'm a member of a family. I'm the middle child. There's an older, there's a younger. If I'm to express it's too hot or cold into me, there's going to be a group reaction. There's some only child stuff that helps in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had no other experience, so I can't compare it because I didn't get to do the other.
Right.
One time I was doing therapy, and one of the exercises in the therapy was to imagine sitting in the room that you lived in when you were 8 years old. And you're sitting in that room now, and imagine your 8-year-old self comes into the room and you get to have a conversation with that person.
God, wouldn't that be fun?
And it was really interesting. And that was the first time after that experience was like, oh, this might be what it would be like to have an older brother. You know, like to have a sibling.
Yes.
Because I never had any of that. I wouldn't even know. But that was the first glimpse of, oh, maybe that's what it's like.
Yeah, where you could click into the feeling a little bit through that exercise.
Yeah. All of the kids that I went to school with didn't like the things I liked because most of them had older brothers and sisters. They liked Led Zeppelin. I didn't like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know, John Bonham died when I was in junior high school or high school. And it's like, that was already old music.
Right.
So it wasn't my music. The Doors, that wasn't my music. I came around to love Led Zeppelin. I came around to love the Doors, but later, that wasn't my music. My music was Ted Nugent, Aerosmith, AC/DC.
Now we're talking. Stranglehold, bet one of the best songs ever written.
Amazing.
History of music, right?
So my first concert I went to was Queen. Second concert I went to was Kiss. Incredible.
Yeah, I saw Back to the Big Time Wrestling.
Yeah. From hard rock, then it was punk rock. But I was only punk in my school.
It's almost more fun. The discovery that you like Led Zeppelin later is almost
Absolutely.
great because
It's
fucking
incredible.
Led Zeppelin. Ooh.
Ridiculous.
And Bonham.
Yeah. And still, so many of the things that we don't think are cool when we're growing up, when you go back and realize like the Bee Gees are one of the greatest groups of all time. And that disco music is one of my favorite kinds of music. Maybe when it was happening, I liked some songs, but I didn't like
Privately.
it as a genre.
Yeah.
My life was privately and quietly because I was an only child and
Yes,
kind of
that's true.
kept to myself anyway.
Yeah, you wouldn't have an older brother coming and go, what the fuck are you listening to?
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so it's worth noting just from there because it's kind of unparalleled and I want to celebrate it a bit. So you end up working with the Beastie Boys. You guys have great success. This is awesome. In 1986, you start working with Slayer. In Monica, Slayer is like musically maybe the high watermark of that whole genre. I mean, Slayer is fucking,
They're unbelievable.
they're full out.
It's ridiculous.
Of punk.
Will we say metal?
Speed metal, death metal.
Okay.
They were almost like an answer to
New
Metallica.
metal.
It was like Metallica, they did something. Metallica to me is Fugazi. Like they came in and they were musical in that world.
Yes.
And then some other people like Slayer came in and they were like, all right, now we're going to fucking pour cocaine all over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah. Slayer is insane. Do you remember Geraldo used to have this TV show where he would interview like a group of people about a subject, and there was a show called Kids Who Kill.
sure.
And there were 5 kids, all of who killed somebody.
Mhm.
And the only thing they seemed to have in common was Slayer.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
Well, Monica, their symbol was a pentagram, a big fiery circle with a pentagram. They were going straight at
Something
it.
tells me I would have veered
Oh,
away.
you would have been
I would
terrified
have been so
of Slayer.
scared.
It was scary. It was scary music.
Yeah.
But it had this energy for the people who loved Slayer, which was a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Oh, they played stadiums.
It was the only thing in life that they cared about.
It's like a life raft.
It really was.
It was a life
It
raft, yeah, big time.
really was.
You knew the dudes in your school who liked Slayer.
They
Very-
probably weren't in your school. They were probably at 7-Eleven playing video games
Right.
and getting drunk.
Well, that's also
Or
true.
at alternative
They-
school.
like the dudes who left your school in 11th grade, let's say.
Right.
So you go into hip hop, but then to me, that makes total sense that you find yourself to Slayer.
The energy is in the music.
Yeah.
There's energy. There's life in it. You feel it. In all of these cases, punk rock, hip hop, Slayer, it's all outsider music. None of this is mainstream music, even though it ended up getting popular. If you were involved in hip hop when I was involved in hip hop, there was no chance it was ever going to get popular.
Right.
It was underground music that regular people didn't think was music. Not bad music. It's not music.
Yes.
The fact that all those people were playing for 100 people and then stadiums is so spectacular and fun. So Slayer's a great pit stop. He makes the Cult's best album in 87. Now, 88, you and Russell Simmons, you guys part ways.
Around then,
Amicable, or there's a difference of opinion?
it was fine. We were friends and partners, and it felt like the partnership was in trouble, but the friendship was fine. And I remember where we went out to lunch, and I said, I feel like we shouldn't do this together anymore. I said, do you want to leave? He's like, I don't want to leave. I was like, okay, then I guess I'll leave. It really was as simple as that.
Wow.
Wow.
Again, no, this goes back to the internal confidence that you clearly have,
Yes.
which is, okay, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have had a very hard time walking away
Well, they
from
would have been
Def Jam.
smart. Had I knew more,
Uh-huh.
it wouldn't have been a good choice to do what I did.
Financially.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
business-wise, this is a terrible thing to do. And I didn't care.
That's not really your focus, is it?
No, I did what felt right to me,
Mhm.
which is, this is feeling weird. I'm in a partnership with someone who has a different direction that they want to go than I want to go. I don't want to go in that direction, and I know he doesn't want to go in the direction I want to go. The best thing we can do is do those two directions independently as friends.
Unhook our train cars.
Exactly.
Yeah. To people who know you, culturally, you occupy this interesting zone. You, too, are a big-time wrestler. Do you recognize that?
No.
Well, first of all, you have such a look. Anyone, like the fucking humongous beard, right? You're barefoot all the time. You are a
Distinct.
big-time wrestler, which is fantastic. You're also known to meditate. You were known to be vegan. You're known to be spiritual.
Only back when it wasn't cool, though.
I know.
But there's a lore. There's a lore around you.
Rick's been stuck in a bad cycle where it's like even Def Jam. That was a street lingo term
Right.
that got popular. So he had a ceremony where he buried it.
It's
And
true. We had a
Oh.
full funeral. That was incredible. It was incredible.
where was it at?
Yeah.
Who attended?
Hollywood
Forever
Forever
Cemetery?
Cemetery. There is a tombstone for the word death.
Oh my
The minister presiding over this funeral was Al Sharpton.
No.
Yes. The amazing Kreskin, the mind reader,
Uh-huh.
performed at the funeral.
How many people are at this funeral?
1,000 people.
Wow.
It was on the news. It was the craziest thing.
Wow.
Because when he moved to California in '88, he started another label called Deaf American Recordings. And then in '90, or what, I don't know what year you did the ceremony, but then he lobbed off the Deaf and just made it American Recordings.
okay.
It was
And
time.
I did it when I read that deaf had been put in Webster's dictionary, had become obsolete. The whole idea of deaf was that this is not a word in the dictionary. This is the insider talk.
Right.
So when it became the mainstream, it was no longer for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, now just as a fan, I'm only going to geek out about 2 of your professional endeavors on a level that's just fandom, and you're going to have to appease me. Ghetto Boys is one of the first groups you start. Now, Ghetto Boys, for me, in 12th grade, I know every word to every fucking song. So how do you come to be working with Ghetto Boys? Who are they when you meet them? And then please walk me through some of the creative experience of working on those.
I had lost my love of hip hop after Public Enemy.
He signed Public Enemy,
My
Monica.
God.
That first wave of hip hop was really exciting. And at the time that we were making it, it was in this community of people, like you were saying about punk rock, where everyone had their own voice.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
had a thing.
Yeah, you had to define yourself like
Absolutely.
as an MC.
So in the early days of hip hop, that's how it was. Some new artist would come out or a new record come out, and it would change the whole game for everybody because everyone was like, whoa, can't believe you could do that. That's so cool. And it was never, they did that, so I'm going to do that. It was more, they did that, so that means now we could do this.
Yeah, like Public Enemy, now all of a sudden there's like guitar and shit. Like it's kind of punk rocky hip hop. I imagine people hear that and they're like, well, fuck me. We can do anything now in that space.
Yeah, that was one of the things. But that's not what happened. So this is what I'm
okay.
saying.
Okay.
So hip hop was a not popular art form. Lots of creativity from a lot of different directions. And then all of a sudden, these Def Jam records got really popular nationally at that time and maybe in the UK as well. Then it seemed like every new hip hop record that came out sounded like a Def Jam record. They tried to do what worked.
formula.
And all the new artists were inspired by it, so they were just doing what worked. And it felt like we're part of this incredible, creative, inspiring community that turned into a bunch of people chasing success.
Okay, great. Let's pause right there because I think there's a great, great part of your book that we could talk about at this moment because I think there's a force that happens. Your creativity when there are no expectations is different than your creativity with expectations. And I think once people know that you can go double platinum with this art form, it fucks their brains up.
Some people, by the way, it's true of anything. This is not just hip hop.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
This is expectations
Yes.
versus
and
process.
I'll say, in the case of hip hop, no one had broken big, so the expectation to break big is insane.
Yes.
Anyone involved in hip hop at that time did it because they loved it, because there was nothing to get to. There's a book called Born to Run. It came out about 10 years ago. It was a bestseller. And I remember a friend of mine gave me the book. He's like, this is a book about running. You're going to love this. Like, running?
Yeah.
I've never been interested in running. I'm not athletic. Nothing about this is interesting.
Don't have any running in your future.
No.
Yeah.
He's like, read this book. And I really like the guy. So I read the book. And reading the book, it's making me cry. It's so beautiful.
Really?
It's a beautiful book.
Oh, man, I want to read it. Huh?
Yeah, you're going to love it. Since then, I've met the author, and I'll introduce you to the author, and he'd be a good person to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
All the choices I made in my life, I didn't make them thinking they were going to be successful. I was just following things I liked.
Yeah.
Against all odds and against everyone who knew better telling me not to do it. Every step of the way. To this day.
Yes, I think the leap of faith for people listening would be, well, basically you're asking me to not be ambitious or want to create a safe, but no, I think the leap of faith would be like, if you do this, it's actually your best chance.
It's your best chance.
It's
I'm not
hard to
saying-
believe, but
yeah,
it is.
I'm not saying it'll work, but your best chance of it working is to really be true to yourself, because then it's you. In any of these creative things, the product is you. And if you're imitating someone else or doing it because someone else thinks it's that way, then it's them.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Right.
And they're always going to be better than you at being them.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So, yeah.
Hip hop had sort of lost its luster for me. The first thing that got me excited about hip hop again was Eazy-E and NWA. And then I heard an early version of the Ghetto Boys when they spelled it ghetto like the normal spelling, G-H. I thought they had potential to be great, but the production wasn't as good as like NWA's production. And I thought maybe I can help. So that was how it happened. And then I went to Houston and I met them. They performed for me in a small dance club, and they did a performance as if there was an audience there.
Yeah.
And they were great.
All right, really quick. Do you think they benefited from what we just spoke of, which was because New York was like the hegemonic center of hip hop? If you were in Houston, you probably didn't have expectations. Like you probably were liberated from everything that was around you.
It was a combination of that and the fact that their life experience was so different than the people in New York. When you're coming from somewhere else, you got different stuff to talk about. It's you have a different life experience, and all of that works itself into what you do.
Yes. And Monica, I'm assuming you don't know the Ghetto Boys.
You sometimes sing.
Their
a
lyrics
lot.
scare you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they're intense.
It's intentional. I mean,
Yeah.
it was called horror rap.
Yeah.
November 1st, 1966, a damn fool was born with the mind of a lunatic. I should have been killed, but just fucking around and let me live.
I knew we'd get a couple.
Mind of a lunatic. How great is that?
How old are you at this time?
Don't remember.
I'll do some fast math
Yeah, do
for
some
you.
fast math.
Are we 92 probably? Okay, so 30. You're like
Okay.
30. They're younger than you, I'm imagining,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Was there any point where you got self-conscious about being older than the artists you were? Never. Because again, you were youthful with all of them.
I was usually the youngest person.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. The transition, I could imagine, might be
It didn't
like,
matter. I just thought of this the other day, and I've never said this out loud, but I think it's interesting, is that I can remember my parents talking about my beard, and my parents saying, Rick grew his beard so that the artists that he worked with take him more seriously. And it's like, where did they get this? Like, it's completely,
wow.
and this is my parents.
Right.
But like a fictional story that they made up, that they assumed, that first it was like, maybe this is why he did it.
right.
And then it became, that's why he did it.
Yes. Do you have any idea why you grew a beard?
Because I decided to stop
You liked
shaving.
it,
Okay.
yeah.
It wasn't even about the beard. It's just, I just don't like shaving and stopped shaving.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you trim it?
Nothing.
That's the full length.
It make it a little longer, make it a little shorter, breaks.
Isn't that a curious thing to you? Why is the
is what
facial
it is.
hairs like, we're going to grow to here and somehow we have a mechanism to stop growing?
Who knows?
I don't know. It's
I
magic.
haven't had a haircut in any way. I can't remember the last time.
Really? It's just handling itself.
Handling itself.
It's not
Natural.
something you want to dedicate any utiles to.
Do you shampoo it?
All the time.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Hourly.
Yeah, I like it. I like shampoo.
Yeah, I
like
bet that feels nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I have any more Ghetto Boy questions. I'm just delighted that you were a part of that. I didn't know that until today, and I just got so thrilled because they're one of my great loves. And you know, Mike Judge is just fucking obsessed with the Ghetto Boys.
I love Mike Judge.
You were with the Red Hot Chili Peppers through the real prolific period, 91 to 2011. As you're saying, I'm going on the same ride as a consumer. So it's like, I'm a little bored of rap. This is getting whatever. Then Jazzmatazz comes out. I'm like, oh, this is new on. Now I'm into Guru. I'm into this stuff. And then Ghetto Boys, I'm like, oh, fuck, what the fuck is this? Similarly, like punk, hardcore, all that stuff. And then Chili Peppers reignites something.
Something new again.
Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of back to big time wrestling, though. Everything's there. It's like, I want to be Anthony Kiedis. Flea's fucking from another planet.
Incredible.
The music's so clean. Like, God, is it clean? I know that's part of your signature kind of producing style.
They're just the best musicians. Flea, Chad, and John. I don't know of a better three group of players playing together on the planet.
Right.
They're incredible.
Yeah, they play live like they're being mixed and separated.
And they play live like jazz. Like it's not the same every time. It's like they're expressing themselves musically. They're not just playing their parts.
Right. Yes. They're all shining yet in
It's
cohesion.
amazing.
You're right. There's so much happening. It's almost like
So
there's three
much
solos
happening.
happening at once, yet it's not overwhelming.
Unbelievable.
I have goosebumps thinking about how fucking amazing the Chili Peppers
You ever get to see them
were.
live?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, incredible. And then, of course, because everyone in the world knows, my number one, the person I think of as, real life Picasso lives among us, and that's Jay-Z. I don't have respect for any artist alive that rivals what I think of Jay-Z. And you produce 99 Problems. You've already done so much at this point. You've been a part of so many moments, and you've seen special things happen, does it at all neutralize it? Or are you able in that experience of making 99 Problems where you wake up and go like, oh, fuck, here we are again? Do you have that sensation? Are they all the same? What's happening with that?
When you leave the studio with something that you're excited about, it's good. I'm lucky in that it happens a lot. And I know that if it doesn't happen, I'll keep working on it until that happens. And again, whether they connect in a big way or whether they don't, it's okay. Like the feeling for me is that, whoa, we made this thing. It's so cool. I'm excited to play it for my friend. If I can play it for you, I'm done. It's already successful.
Yeah.
If I feel good enough to play it for you.
How about this? When I'm directing a movie, I don't know how many scenes in totality there might be. Let's say there's 160 scenes. I'm hoping to drive home each day with that feeling like we got the thing we were trying to get. But also, occasionally you're driving home and you go, oh my God, we got the thing we wanted to get. Times two, I don't think anyone's gotten that thing yet before.
It's the best feeling.
Yeah, it's transcendent.
And if people get it, great. But if they don't, it doesn't matter because you know it.
Yes, I totally agree.
You know it. You feel it. And the things after that, for everyone to connect to it, are all out of your control.
Yeah. How do you get at peace with that? Has it ever bothered you in the past? Have you driven home from a 99 Problems and it didn't turn out to be 99 Problems? Is there any sadness about that?
I had so much success early on so consistently that the first time something didn't do well, I didn't even understand it.
Right.
But then once I understood, it's like, oh, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It means a lot of things. It could mean that it's bad. It could mean wrong place, wrong time. Something else happened at that time that took the light away, sucked all the air out of the room, and people weren't ready for that. Or karmically, that artist, as great as they are, for some reason, they're not meant to connect in a big way. We don't control that. We don't know.
Yeah.
You think of how many really talented people you've met who are not household names. I can think of incredibly talented people who can't take care of themselves well enough to where they have to live on the street.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from their talent. It's just they don't have whatever is necessary besides that talent to be able to exist in the world.
Yeah, they don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah, there's more than just talent. It does require
Absolutely.
a lot.
Work ethic. There's so much to it. There's parts of it that are in our control, like the work ethic. You could show up.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, whether the company that was funding your picture has the right distribution deal, or they sold it to the streamer that nobody watches.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, well, you don't control any of that.
Even discipline, I think, is more genetic than we think.
You think?
I kind of do. Sometimes I think we can elevate ourselves. We're like, I work so hard and I'm so disciplined, or I do this. And really, I'm like, I think that's maybe just downloaded.
But within that, that's what the book's about. There are certainly strategies and
Tactics.
approaches and ways to frame things and think about things. Any human can maximize whatever their given aptitude is.
Absolutely. And for anything you're learning to do, you can get better at it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not to keep bringing it back to myself and specifically Idiocracy, but that's a great example. Idiocracy comes out. I don't meet a person for 5 years who's seen that movie. I leave that movie going, my God, look what we did.
Yeah.
And then, oh, I guess we didn't. And then
But you
5
did.
years later, it starts. And then now, 20 years later, it's like bigger than it's ever been. With the exception of like, there's a couple, what was that, Sugar Man?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in music terribly often, does it? Where someone was really ahead of the curve and then 15 years later, it gets discovered. It feels less so.
No examples come to mind.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I just heard a story yesterday, though, where Bruce Springsteen was going to be dropped by his label. I don't remember how many records he had put out before there was starting to feel like, okay, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the Breakthrough album happened, but it could have gone either way before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
U2, I think it was the fourth album before anybody cared about them.
It's wild. How do you all get along, like producers? Because I'll tell you, within my industry, there are certain pockets of job titles that tend to get along really well, and there's some that it feels competitive or whatever. TV showrunners seem to get along really well because they all get the fucking Herculean effort it takes to run a show. So when they meet each other, it's like, oh my God, I can talk to someone that understands. Like, do you get along with Jimmy Iovine?
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I met him 37 years ago.
No
Wow.
kidding.
Unbelievable.
Not far after him making that album with Bruce. That's what made me think of it. He's working on that album with Springsteen, right?
Probably so. I had just produced The Cult, my first rock record, and I met Jimmy. I didn't know who he was, but I got introduced as Jimmy Iovine. He's a record producer, maybe the first professional record producer I ever met.
Did you have any anxiety? Because it's a job you've figured out on your own for the most part.
I never felt like I was in competition with anyone because I always felt like I was doing something different.
Right. I wanted to read one thing. In fact, I meant to read it at the very beginning of this. This is a quote from Dr. Dre. He's so impressive. It's
Amazing.
crazy. Dr. Dre said, Rubin is hands down the dopest producer ever that anyone would ever want to be ever.
Wow.
I mean, I know we try to avoid letting our ego get too inflated, but that feels good, doesn't it?
Whenever anybody likes anything, I can't believe it because I know I like crazy things.
Yeah, but it's nice when peers who you
It's
have
great.
great respect
It's
for.
amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Like if fucking Danny Ricciardo, the Formula One driver, tells me I'm a great driver, it's going to mean a little more to me than when Monica tells me.
Wow.
And I love Monica. I love Monica more than Daniel Ricciardo, but still, that's gonna be a little spring in my step.
Speaking
get
of which,
that.
pretty cool vehicle out there.
Thank you. That's my sand car. That's just
It's
for the
cool.
sand dunes.
Where do you do sand?
Glamis. It's about 200 miles away. It's in California, and then it butts up to the wall to Mexico, and it's 400 square miles of enormous sand dunes. And the family and I all go a few times a year, stay in the motorhome.
Sounds super fun.
It's the most fun motorsport activity I do, and I do all of them.
Is there potential to flip over?
No, there's other risks, but flipping over is not really one of them. No, you can jump that thing 40 feet in the air, and when you land, it's like sitting down in this lazy boy.
Well, the razor will flip.
The Razor will, yeah,
Yeah.
but not the sand car.
Right.
Yeah. The suspension travels 36 inches in back.
It's
which
so
is,
cool looking.
yeah, and it hovers across everything.
It's really cool.
It's an insect. You get in this insect, and it just fucking articulates over everything.
It looks
and you,
fun.
It's like such cognitive dissonance because you're approaching all these things, and yet your body's flat, level, and comfortable. And the thing's doing all this stuff. The physics side of your brain that's predicting how you're going to feel is constantly being inverted.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a semi-spiritual
Yeah,
experience,
it's
I
very
think.
cool.
Yeah, it's like you couldn't dream of moving through time and space this way.
What's your connection to spirituality?
Great. This is very deserving of a conversation because I think you'll find Malcolm and I a little bit similar. Like we're a little hard to crack on this front. In fact, you asked him, like, what's a moment you could point to as spirituality? He said his father's passing and the power of it that was unexpected. And you said, and do you think that experience has changed your life? He said, profoundly.
Yeah.
So this is something I'm striving for. I'm super analytical for lots of reasons, many stepdads. I don't trust anybody, so I don't trust anyone's telling me they've had an experience. I'm a skeptic, and yet I love Stutz. My own therapist is like, it's going to be a component you're going to have to figure out how to embrace.
You've never had any
I
kind
have.
of
I
a
have.
mystical experience.
They're children related, mostly. Yeah, there's something about that experience that is pure in a way I didn't know pure existed.
Pure love.
Yeah, zero fear of
Yeah.
commitment. I didn't think I had that in me. Like I'm committed forever
Yes.
and can't wait to be committed
Yes.
forever. I didn't think I would have that in my life.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. You have a child.
I do.
Yeah, a little younger than mine maybe.
He's 6 years old, my boy.
Yes. And even with all your different practices and the journey you've been on, did that also just become an entirely
It's
different?
radical. He's so cool.
He's so
It's
cool.
so cool.
I want to say, you wouldn't remember this, but the Avett brothers were recording at Shangri-La, and I'm really good friends with Seth, and I stopped by to see them when they had just finished the album. I want to see your little boy might have been there.
Yeah, he was there.
Okay,
He
yeah,
would
yeah.
have been there.
Yeah.
How great are the Avett brothers?
Oh my God.
What a
love
great
them.
band. And the most through and through good people I've ever met in my life. I can remember meeting their dad and saying, what did you do? How do these humans exist on the planet?
Yes.
Everyone else I know is crazy.
Yes.
They're completely grounded, loving, together, unbelievably artistic.
We talked about how hard it is for just a band to exist. My brother and I could never be in a band and share credit and share writing and share. Like you're fighting for your parents' attention your whole life. It's an innately competitive dynamic.
It's astounding.
Now I'm going to be dead honest with you though.
Yeah.
As I just said, I'm a skeptic and I'm a cynic. So as I've been friends with them, I'm going,
Looking for the
this is
cracks.
too good to be true.
That's interesting.
And I'm watching that beautiful documentary that Judd made about them, and a lot of it's at Shangri-La, your studio. The most incredible moment of the whole movie happens when they record that song. No hard feelings.
Incredible.
Oh my God, the last part where it's like, I have no enemies. I was like,
Yeah.
there's spirituality.
Yeah.
I can't believe in mankind the way that song can make me believe in mankind, right?
Yeah. And when you hear him singing, you know he's honest. I know he's honest.
Yes.
I don't question it one bit.
Yes. Oh my God, I have no enemies. Fuck.
What a beautiful, beautiful song. I had a funny experience watching that movie.
Oh yeah. tell me.
Because after that, I don't know if you remember what happened right after that. So they do this take of this song
They walk
that
outside.
is transcendent.
Yeah.
And the whole reason we ever are in the recording studio is to hopefully have that happen. That's all it is. It doesn't happen a lot. There'll be lesser versions that happen on a more regular basis. But those real transcendent moments, the whole process is towards that. And it happened. And I remember as soon as it finished, I said, wow, that was great. What do you want to do next? Because I didn't want to break the spell. Something good's happening. What do you feel like playing next? Let's see where this goes. And they're like, okay, we need a minute. They stepped outside. And I didn't know this till I saw the film, but they're like, I get this sense of what's with him?
Oh.
What are we going to do? Didn't he see what just happened?
I don't
That's
remember
not what
that.
I interpret it as.
Yeah, maybe I'm just too close.
I interpret it as, and this is the crack I try to narrow in on with both of them, is they do have a voice in their head that is relentlessly, am I telling the truth? Am I telling the whole truth? Am I exploiting the truth? I think they wrestle with that. And I think they went outside and they knew they captured something that was so fucking transcendent. And I think some voice in their head said, I don't know that we deserve the result we just got.
Wow.
And we need to talk about
That's
this.
interesting.
I think they had hints of feeling fraudulent about how beautiful that was.
Wow. I don't believe that. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
And great to interview them and find out.
Yes, I'm probably projecting. I did interview them right around the time that came out. And I didn't specifically ask that. But to me, that was that well-known imposter syndrome we all can experience from time to time. And it's I think almost they felt something that they didn't know if they were worthy of having created. And they needed to sit down and talk about if they had just lied to get that or not.
I wonder.
We could find out.
We're
You and I
going
both have the ability to find that out.
We're going to find out.
But that was my analysis. Not that they were out there thinking you were
I
some
wonder
kind of a
Do you
taskmaster.
think they even know? Or not even taskmaster. It was almost like, why aren't we popping a bottle of champagne?
Right. We did what we were supposed to do.
What do you mean, what's next?
That was the
Like-
80-yard pass in the end zone.
It's
why aren't we?
Why aren't we
Why are we
celebrating?
clapping? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Where's the high fives?
Mhm.
Or it could also be they had that because they were like, well, we can't do better than that. And we didn't get the approval in the moment.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
This is like an opposite experience that just happened. I'll keep names out of it. We do a take in the studio, an incredible performance of a song that's one of these transcendent performances. And the guitar player did this incredible solo, mind-blowing, spontaneous in the moment, and then finishes and then walks through the control room to go to the bathroom before we do the next thing. And one of the engineers in the room said, wow, that was a great solo. And the guitarist looked at him and said, I'd rather not have any input like that. No, thank you. Then you start thinking about that.
Then now
I
he
don't want.
wants-
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
He doesn't want to
Yeah.
have to feel like he has to recreate it.
It just makes them self-conscious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I was just in the moment. It's interesting.
It's a precarious, little, hard-to-get-to sweet spot, and it feels very vulnerable.
It's completely vulnerable because we don't control it. The Avett Brothers played that same song right before that transcendent take, and it was good, but it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And no one involved knows what was different.
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, well, we did this. No.
Mhm.
It just happened.
It's like capturing a seizure.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
you never know if you're going to be able to.
You never know.
Is that your first experience having watched?
Yes.
How did what you saw on camera differ from your memory of the experience?
Nothing was different other than the conversation that I wasn't privy to.
Yeah. I was on a show 20 years ago. It's the thing that launched me and gave me the career overnight, Punked. I have a memory of what those were. Once in a blue moon,
You were on the show, Punk?
I was on the first season. That was my first thing. And I have a memory of those. And occasionally I'll accidentally see it's on TV, some rerun. And I can never get more than about 40 seconds because I'm like, ooh, this is fucking up my memory of it. And I prefer my memory of it. The product isn't what I remember. And I actually want to safeguard the memory because it's a great memory for
I
me.
understand.
So I do wonder, like, if I were you, part of me would wish some of those crazy moments you've had were documented so you could revisit them because they were so beautiful. But then I also imagine they might not be what you thought. But I'm kind of reassured to hear that was, when you watch that Avett Brothers thing, it is representative of your feeling.
I usually don't really know anything. Like, I'm very much in the present moment. I can try to figure out how I would have felt back then, or if there was a key event that happened where I was asked about it then, and I remember answering a question then I might know because I remember that conversation.
Right.
So I know how I felt. But other than that, I'm just here and now.
Your gift is kind of you're naturally on mushrooms.
Actually, I was working with Billy Corrigan at one point, and that was one of the things he said to me. He said, you hear music like I heard music after taking LSD, and I never took LSD. And I don't know anything about it. I just have this relationship to it. Also, funny talking about the stuff in the book. It's things I've noticed. I can't say it's mine.
You're like a reporter in a sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is how I see what I saw. I don't even know if that's true. It's all just, this is what I noticed. How does it strike you? That's what it is.
Yes. You're so right. As I'm reading it, as someone who endeavors on creative projects, it funnels through me, right? Like, so one of your great prescriptive things, which I agree with, is when you are trying to solve an issue, you don't believe that sitting down and concentrating on that problem is going to yield a result. You talk about holding that problem in your consciousness, but then taking a walk.
Yeah.
And I read that and I was like, oh my God, I'm currently trying to crack some other thing. And I'm kind of really strangleholding it, trying to figure out what the format is. And I forgot that I needed to just go take a walk. Or my thing is, like, if I get a foot massage at the $20 place,
Great.
like an hour of there, all of a sudden some shit just starts getting downloaded into my head, right?
Beautiful. I recognize the fact that if I was struggling with a problem and then I gave up and went swimming, often the solution would appear while I was swimming. When I was not thinking about it at all, just focusing on the swimming, I'd let the problem go. But then it just arises. It's like, oh, seems like movement has something to do with it. And then I would notice the same thing on walks, and I would notice even driving the car. When you're driving, there's a part of you that's almost on autopilot. If you drive enough, you might miss 10 minutes of the drive, even though you've been piloting the vehicle for 10 minutes, but you have no idea. You're checked out, but there's a part of you that's still doing it. And for some reason, when that's engaged, you can get more creative.
100% focus counterintuitively isn't the solution. It's like somehow the sweet spot's like 80%.
I made an album with Neil Diamond, and actually made 2 albums with Neil Diamond. He had so many great early songs. Sweet Caroline, those amazing. He was sort of Bruce Springsteen before there was Bruce Springsteen. And the reason I feel like many people discard him is that he sings in a way that feels over genuine.
I've liked him when I was young, but privately. I'm not trying to tell people I like him. I think for me, it's the lack of danger in him that has him in a category he doesn't belong in.
The thing that struck me was that because he was such a good singer, the singing often sounded like a performance instead of somebody spilling their guts.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse.
Exactly. And he writes his songs on the guitar, but he's not a good guitar player. And I said, well, it'd be great if you could play on the album. He's like, why would I play on the album when we can have the best guitar players in the world play. I never play on my albums. But when he was showing me the songs, he was playing guitar and singing them. And when he was playing guitar and singing them,
something new was
he
happening.
had to focus on the guitar because he's not an automatic guitar player. And the vocal got more real because he was just distracted enough to not be able to put all of his attention on, I'm going to do this great vocal performance.
Right.
And it became more believable. He played guitar on the album, and it wasn't because I wanted his guitar playing, but because I wanted him to have something to do to free his voice to be completely natural. And it's beautiful.
That's really interesting.
Okay, great. So that is the element of your producing style that makes you like a performance coach, a psychologist, someone who can evaluate what the issue is, or at least your personal issue, we'll call it. Well, I'd like to hear maybe of the more authentic version of him from the cockles. So that's the quote problem to solve. And then in this process, you're really good at figuring out clearly some mechanical things, some technique that can get the person there.
It could be that, or in this case, just noticing when he was playing me the songs in rehearsal, I'm paying attention to everything.
And that's your biggest marching order in the creative act, which is be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, notice what's happening, noticing what you lean forward, what you want to look at closer, what you want to not look at, what you want to turn your head away from, what tastes good, what tastes bad. Is it too hot or too cold? Just all of these signals that we're getting all the time. Pay attention. I'm attracted to that face. Why? What is it? Try to understand. Sometimes we figure it out, sometimes we don't, but it's just this process of what's going on, trying to understand what's going on around us. I don't like that. What is it that I don't like about it? Why?
Well, right. I think you were saying like it's people's inclination to think that the solution is in their mind and it's something that they're going to solve upstairs. And in doing that, you're modeling, and you're basically modeling the future as opposed to looking around you. And you say that the answer is generally floating around you in the present.
Yes.
That's counterintuitive.
Okay.
Yeah. Congratulations. We like counterintuitive stuff.
Wait, I have a question because you asked Dax about his spirituality.
Yeah.
So your spirituality, what are some of the moments or the moment that made you connect?
I was very lucky in that I learned to meditate when I was 14. And because of that, it just quieted down my mind in a way that I had this long-standing bedrock of being able to get out of whatever my head is saying. I can't always do it. I have a tendency towards being able to do that just because I've been meditating so long. I've had mystical experiences and wild ones.
I meditate as well. I do TM.
TM was what I learned when I was 14.
Okay, yeah.
And I've done many others, but I always come back to TM maybe because it was the first one I learned.
Yeah. I don't know the others, but I know TM is insanely simple. That's what keeps me around.
My experience was I learned when I was 14. When I went to college, I stopped. Then when I moved to California, after a couple of months, I started again. And I remember before starting feeling like I wanted to start, but there was a part of me that's like, it's not right yet. I felt like I was making a very big decision to start doing it again.
Right.
Eventually, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it today. And I did it. And in the first meditation, after not doing it for years, it was like, oh, I know what this is. And the fact that I did it when I did it for the amount of years I did it, it's a big part of who I am.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known it had I not stopped and started again. But in the first sitting, it was like, oh, this is in me.
I agree. I had the same hard time getting back into it because it's like, I know how this works. So it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to commit. I wish I would just approach it like, just do it today.
There's a part in the book that you would like where it talks about discipline and basically commitment. It's like we think of discipline and freedom as opposites.
Yeah.
And they are not opposites. Discipline brings you more freedom.
Yeah, that's a leap. But I think you're right.
It seems like a leap.
Yeah.
But because it's just the way we think. It's like, I want to do what I want to do, and that's freedom.
But you got to evaluate what is your definition of freedom. If having a cluttered mind all day and not being able to ever get out of yourself is freedom, then okay, yes.
But that was one of the things like, well, I don't have time to meditate. The thing you learn when you meditate is if you meditate for 20 minutes twice a day or even 30 minutes twice a day, you'll see that you have more time in your day than you did before.
It's illogical, but
Yes.
it's 100% true.
Yes.
Because you'll work in a different manner. You'll work with more clarity. You'll work with
Absolutely.
focus.
Changes everything. There's another illogical point in the book, which is if you have 5 mistakes, the work's not done. But maybe if you have 8, it is.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You know, like, because
Yeah.
we think that the problem is the mistakes are the things we're trying to fix to get to the perfect version. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
Perfection isn't what you're aiming for. It's not.
You think it is, though, right?
Well, you think it is, but that's
Yeah.
it. But once you understand that it's not, you can relax. You
Yeah.
start to realize the best work. The things that are imperfect is what gives it its personality. It's what gives it its humanity. It's what gives it its life. Otherwise, a robot could do it. And none of us like robots.
No.
Nobody likes a robot.
Well, people aren't perfect by definition. So it's unrelatable to be listening to something fully perfect or seeing something that's, quote, perfect, because there's nothing to connect to in that because that's not real.
Yeah. We connect to the reality in things.
Yeah.
If someone believes in something strongly that I don't believe in, and I hear them talk about it, I relate to them, even though I disagree.
Yeah.
But it's like I can see they feel this,
Yes.
and it's real for them, and I relate to that
I know that feeling.
I
Yeah.
know that feeling. They care. I love that somebody cares about anything.
Yeah.
I want to read a couple things out of the book that I loved. One is, in the wild, animals narrow their field of vision to survive. A tight focus prevents distraction from critical needs: food, shelter, predators, procreation. For the artist, this reflexive action can be a hindrance. Widening one's scope allows for more moments of interest to be noticed and collected, building a treasury of material to draw from later. I think this is really profound because it's very tempting to move through life just seeing those things that are going to bring us the food, the shelter, the love.
We miss the show.
Yes, it's a cacophony of things happening around us that we block out. And as you say, you're just pulling from the outside world. Or you also use this metaphor for the vessel. We're a vessel. And what ends up in the vessel is what we allow to pass through our filter. And that's what you're drawing from to be an artist. So it's like if you widen out the filter and let more things land in the vessel, there's that much more to draw from and create
Absolutely.
from. That's really beautiful. What I like about it is without it being prescriptive, do this, do that, it just starts your brain on the path of creativity. It really does. It just makes you start thinking like, all right, and I could do that, and I could take a walk, and I think I will take a walk, and I think I'm going to look at different stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an invitation. That's what the book is. It's an invitation to participate in the creative universe that's going on all around us. It's happening anyway. The universe is creative, and we can play our part in it or we cannot. It's really fun to participate.
Well, the other thing you talk about is the rhythm of the universe I really respond to because I'm in AA. I got to have a higher power. It's so fucking hard for me. The only thing I've ever been able to latch onto is I'm sitting there imagining what I'm making these prayers to. And I think, God damn, there's some great symmetry in the solar system. Like, fuck, all 9 of these planets are just spinning around. They don't collide. It's all held together. And then, whoa, the whole solar system's swirling around in this galaxy, the Milky Way. The fucking galaxy's a part of many galaxy clusters. And I go, oh, there is this incredible symmetry and rhythm. And I know when I'm stepping in or out of the rhythm. If I'm really pay attention, I know when I'm walking upstream or when I'm going with the flow. I do know on a cellular level when I'm not locking into the rhythm.
And have you worked on 2 different projects, one of which every step of the way, it's like a struggle and a fight, and every step is hard. And then there are other ones where it seems like they almost happen by themselves. There's something going on there.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying don't fight the fight. I'm not saying that. But pay attention, which are the ones that the universe is like supporting you in.
Yeah.
The universe is on our side. We're proof that the universe is on our side because we're sitting here.
That's true.
We're here.
Yeah.
If it didn't pick us, we wouldn't be here.
It'd be being studied by another species in the archaeological record.
Exactly. So we're here. It's working for us. Life is good. We get to breathe. We'll go to sleep tonight. We'll wake up. We'll see the sun tomorrow. It's good.
Okay, I have one last question. You know, when I look at the list of people that you've worked with, what pops out to me immediately is you've worked with some world-class addicts. And I think a lot of artists, their addiction is conflated or interwoven with their art. They've been doing their art high. Famously, Jackie Gleason never performed sober.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, drank on stage, and
didn't know
then that worked for him on stage, so he carried it over to the Honeymooners. Smokey and the Bandit. He's got an assistant, and he would go, Sam, cheeseburger. Cheeseburger meant glass of vodka. Hamburger meant cigarette. One of the two came over. And there's all these famous addicts, right? And then, of course, there's a sweet spot where it works for a lot of people. And then, of course, the diminished returns start coming in. So you undoubtedly have been in this situation 1,000 times where you're trying to be creative and productive with someone in their addiction. And how on earth have you handled that, and how powerless that must have felt? Talk about how to point someone in the right direction when there's a third party in the room.
It rarely has happened in the room.
Oh, really?
And I can remember one time where I was working with, I can say it was Tom Morello, was playing guitar on something. And for whatever reason, the performance never felt free. Like, it felt very uptight. And, you know, I don't drink or do any drugs, just never have. With Tom, I know he liked to go out and drink. It was one of the things I liked to do. And it was the only time I ever said, you know, maybe you should have a few drinks. So I actually recommended him drinking to see if we could get a good solo. Yeah.
Did it work?
It did. But I would never recommend it. I also know that he's not like alcoholic.
An alcoholic.
It's like he just needed to loosen up in this moment.
You wanted to get him in that
for the greater good.
That sweet spot where you're better at pool,
I'll drink
not
for
worse.
the greater good any day.
Yeah. There's this really, everyone knows who drinks. There's a sweet spot in playing pool where 2 beers makes you better at pool, and then 4 and beyond makes you worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anyone who's hung out in bars knows this phenomenon.
I have a feeling the beer is the substitute for the meditation, because that's all it is. You're trying to quiet down your mind. And there's a point where you're quieting down your mind, and there's a point where you're obliterating your mind. And when you're obliterated, you can't do the work. But there's a spot where you've quieted down the demons. But that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
It's like all the drugs are just really shortcuts to get closer to feeling like enlightenment.
Yeah. I think the other thing you would have to have, you personally, given your resume, you would have to also have an incredible ability to not try what's worked in the past.
Yes.
Because these people are so individual. It's so tempting for all of us that when we've had success with a method, we kind of get married to the method. And I think you of all people, because all these elements are coming in, they're so fucking different. No two singers are going to need
I don't have a method. And I'm interested in learning as many methods as I can. I'm curious. I want to see what can work.
Again, it kind of all goes back to confidence.
Yeah,
like it takes
does.
so much confidence to enter embracing your ignorance and not knowing how you're going to figure this out.
Yeah. But I think that's where the good stuff comes from. It's that beginner's mind, you know, the Ramones.
You said they were trying to be the Bay City Rollers or something. Yeah.
And they were innovative through ignorance, innovation through ignorance.
Right. Do you ever feel the pressure you're with a band, they know your history, they've come to you. Do you ever start getting self-conscious that, oh, they're waiting for my magic thing to happen?
I'm always apprehensive before a project starts, not even based on the band's expectation or the artist's expectations, just because I know we're going in and I have no idea what's going to happen. And it's scary. It's always scary because I also want it to be great.
Yeah.
And I know we're not going to be done till it's great. And I have no idea what we're going to do. It always starts like that. So it's always terrifying. And then you work and then something good happens. And then sometimes something good happens that can give you a potential picture of what the whole good thing could be. I still wouldn't say, oh, we cracked the code and this is what we're going to do. No. But, oh, this could be what we do. So that feels good. That feels better than what are we going to do?
And then till something even better presents itself.
Yeah, either something better or more of the good thing presents itself.
Even Ricardo, when I asked him, and on the grid before you start, it's I'm terrified. Everything's terrifying. But then the second the activity starts, none of that exists. It never exists once the activity starts. And I guess my aspiration is just to fast forward to doing the thing. When I do the thing, I'm actually never scared. I'm in the thing and I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's called anticipatory anxiety. I suffer from it.
Yeah, that's reassuring.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you care about the thing you're making and you don't know how it's going to go, it seems pretty natural.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good sign.
Yeah. How about when you're coming back to do it with people you already have the rhythm with?
Always better. It's still not gone.
Yeah.
But at least it's not completely unknown.
Right. And some people you get with and you feel safe. There's certain people that I'm like, oh, I know when I'm with them, I'm going to feel indestructible.
Yes.
They give me that. Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. Very cool book. And also, I'll just add what you say at the beginning of the book, which I think is relevant. Because you might think, oh, I don't paint, I don't do this, I know that. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before. It could be a conversation, the solution to a problem, a note to a friend, the rearrangement of furniture in a room, a new route home to avoid a traffic jam. You're engaged at all times. You're entering the unknown. And you're executing.
Yeah, we're creative beings in a creative universe, and we can embrace that. It's beautiful.
Yes. And that's why, as you say, as the book revealed itself to you, you realize it's as much just about a book about being, how to be on this planet.
It turned out that way. I didn't know that going in, but it turned out that way.
Well, Rick, this has been a blast. I really enjoyed meeting you.
Same, my pleasure.
Great luck with everything, and I look forward to talking to you again.
We will do it.
Okay.
See you later.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Okay, let's get right to the most important thing in the world.
Yes.
Which is Rob, our in-house resident foodie, whose life revolves around food.
Yes.
Who, curiously, for me, I just have done a lot of like armchair psychological analysis.
Uh-huh.
He never talks about French laundry. So my assumption was it's too old-fashioned for him. He's more cutting-edge, punk rock, who's breaking the paradigm.
That's accurate. I'm typically more that.
Like new.
Yeah, this is old-fashioned. This is too traditional. French.
Although they have a lot of the same elements, I realized. What I like about contemporary food is kind of all the different layers and techniques and flavor profiles. And even though French laundry has been around for 45 years, they're
nailing it.
They're keeping it
They
fresh.
they clearly are part of the reason why that's an innovative way to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing is like it needs to be recognized that they kind of started it all.
Yeah.
Thomas Keller.
Yeah, T. Keller.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but then you said it and I acted like I knew by heart.
And then you acted like you gave him a nickname, in fact.
T. Kells.
You knew him so well.
So it was with a little bit of hesitation that my gift to you for Christmas was a trip to French Laundry, which we already learned. Yes. I went through social media. I took every angle and finally got there. And then I thought, I don't even know if he wants to go to French Laundry.
No, it was great. It was incredible.
Okay, so first of all, you build a whole trip around it. Mm-hmm. What day do you leave?
Sunday. We left
for a Friday
Sunday
reservation.
For a Thursday night reservation. But we tacked on a few days in San Francisco because it was timed with Calvin's spring break.
Right. And you did an Airbnb in San Francisco?
Well, we went to Paso Robles first.
Yeah, explain that decision to me.
It was halfway. I wanted to take the drive up the coast. Yeah. We've got a 1-year-old, so the
101.
8-hour drive with a kid doesn't sound the best, so we decided to break it up into 2 days.
Right.
First day, though, so we cut in by like Hearst Castle to go up the one.
Uh-huh.
Drove about an hour, and they had it shut off.
Which was maybe a blessing, Rob. Have you ever done the one ride from San Simi? Okay.
I've done it a bunch. Yeah.
It's like a 7-hour drive to Santa Cruz. It's so windy.
But
for
it's beautiful.
200. Oh my God. It's the prettiest drive you can take in America.
Well, and Calvin had thrown up 3 times by that point.
Yeah.
You need a new car.
Well, I rented.
Yes, he has a Tesla.
No, he rented a G-Wagon.
I rented a G-Wagon for it.
I was so blown away. I was so proud of Robbie.
Wow, Rob.
Yes, he sent me a picture. And it was a fucking AMG, right?
Yeah, well, they had it. They convinced me. I had rented just a
SUV.
And then they were like, do you want to take this?
Oh, my God.
And then Calvin threw up in it 3 times?
Well, that's like a $200,000 car.
So we made him stop watching the iPad. And he
yeah.
stopped from that
Imagine
point
that.
on.
Yeah, you can't.
No, you can't be watching
God.
Mario Kart or whatever they watch.
He's really into Scooby-Doo right now.
Oh.
Let's just spend 2 seconds on that G-Wagon. Because that's not something you would have ever been on your radar, right?
No.
But it's undeniable?
Yeah.
What color?
It was black.
Oh.
And even the guy at Enterprise was like, they don't even let me drive this.
Right? I can't believe.
So why'd they offer it?
What
to you?
Enterprise had it? This one
The
right
Los
here?
Feliz one.
No.
It's like half exotic.
It is.
Yeah.
I want to rent one.
And then they called me, I
Find me
think
one.
because of that, they called me like halfway through the trip telling me they had like a Lamborghini
Oh.
Yaris or,
Oh, sure. The SUV.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
wanted to know if I wanted to switch out for that.
Oh, my
Oh, my.
God.
It's like a tank. It's very
Yeah.
boxy and tall.
How
You're
does
up
it
really
drive?
high.
It's
Smooth?
It drives really smooth. It's really fast.
It's so fast. But the sound is awesome. It has side pipes.
Oh.
And it kind of feels like you're driving a U-Haul truck
Oh.
just because
'Cause
you're
there's
so
so
high
much.
up and the windshield's like
Straight up and down.
straight
yeah.
up and down.
There's no rake to it. It's a military vehicle originally.
Right.
Yeah. Our neighbor, your direct neighbor, he has a fucking pimp white one. Not only does he have a G-Wagon, he's got the V12 G-Wagon. That one's like probably pushing 300,000.
Yeah,
I'm
this
gonna
would
borrow
be
it.
so
I'm gonna ask
cool.
if I can borrow
You
it.
should ask him. You can borrow mine. I have an AMG too. You can borrow mine.
We can switch.
Okay, so G-Wagon up. By the way, tactically, I don't know if I agree with you because I've driven up to Oregon 6 times with the kids, and breaking it up. No, it's just 2 bad days instead of 1 bad day because they actually get lulled after about 6 hours
Yeah.
of driving. They kind of go into a catatonic state.
Well, Natalie also hates driving.
Oh, okay, great.
So combined, all 3 people, she sat on the back with them.
Oh,
They were miserable the whole time.
Why didn't she sit in the front?
You were in heaven
She had
driving
to
that
catch
G-Wagon.
the throw up.
No, Vincent, just distracting
Oh, my
him.
God.
I had my AirPods on listening to like our episodes. couldn't even hear them back there.
Oh, you were in heaven. Okay, so then you get to San Francisco. You got an Airbnb, and that's lovely or no? Is that a miss or?
Not great.
Okay.
Supposed to be a 3-bedroom.
This is a ding, ding, ding
Yeah.
for tomorrow's Armchair Anonymous.
Oh,
Nope.
nope.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
No, that's right.
No,
Or no,
home
it's Craigslist.
sharings. Yeah. Okay.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from
We could have had you on there,
a
but
week
it's too
from
late.
tomorrow's Armchair Anonymous. Okay, go on.
We get in and it's supposed to be a 3-bedroom. We can only find 2 bedrooms.
Missing bedroom.
And then there's like a locked door
Hmm.
that you have to like go around to get into the garage. And then there's some weird suite in the basement. Smelled like wet dog.
Yeah, doghouse.
They, I think, rent them separately, but we called them. We had rented a 3-bedroom. So
Right.
he helped us locate the key to unlock the doors.
But then no one ever slept in there, I imagine.
We slept down there.
Oh.
Yeah, the boys needed their own rooms.
Oh my God. Okay. First
Why do the boys
mistake.
need their own rooms?
Why do they need to go on this trip?
Oh.
Good question, right?
Well, no one's going to watch it.
Well,
Grandma,
Vincent's still
grandpies.
breastfeeding
But can she pump and
for a
Dump.
week.
not dump,
I
pump and
know.
save?
Pump and save. Pump and
But a
go.
week is long, I
Weeks
guess.
al- I mean, we could have gone probably. No,
Just for the...
I don't know that she's ready to leave Vincent overnight yet either.
Now, what you could have done, obviously, is just been with the kids all week for spring break and then left on Thursday morning
Mm-hmm.
and driven up and then stay at the romantic hotel,
Yeah.
2 days there, have your French laundry and come home.
Yeah, it wasn't a very relaxing vacation.
Of course not. You were with your kids. So someone said it
You
best
need
to
to
me.
consult me when you make these trips.
Yeah, this should have been workshop. Some wise parent said to me early on, and it's the truest statement. When you're a parent going on vacation, is just parenting in a different setting.
Yeah,
You tell yourself you're going to be on vacation, but you're not.
yeah.
You're
You have
just-
the expectation that it's going to be relaxing,
Yes, no.
and then it's. I would rather be working than
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
some of it.
Can I make an exception?
Yeah.
I think, because I don't have kids, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's why the pod trips are so fun.
1,000%.
Because
So
there
my-
is less parenting.
Right. So someone gave me that advice, which is true because it's mostly the advice isn't don't do it. It's just have appropriate expectations.
Yeah.
Someone in AA said it to me.
Yeah,
But you got to tell yourself like you're going to go parent in a different location.
Yeah.
But the hack, if you're a new parent, is you got to have friends with the same age kids,
Yep.
and then that liberates your whole life.
we did that for Christmas, and that was
much better.
Much better.
You can
Still
do
not
shit.
Still not a huge break because they're two little ones.
Yeah. At least then you have
You
someone
get
to
hours.
commiserate.
And then it's so good that then you're on the other. So where we're at with it
Right. You've flipped the
is
script.
like, we got to have non-pod vacations or we're going to have no family memories. Because also it's so attractive that you could end up doing every vacation that way. And then you're like, I don't know, I've been on 6 vacations. I didn't see my kids at any of them.
Right.
And then you feel shitty about that.
I
Well,
get that.
the narrative version's great. Like looking back on that trip, we had a lot of great memories.
Yes. And you'll forget all the.
Yeah, but it was slightly miserable. Also,
Sure.
For some of it.
Now French Laundry. So
Yes,
Thursday
the main
comes and.
Our nanny, our babysitter bailed last minute.
No.
So we had to find a nanny service.
Well, you're in a good area for that.
And there's a concierge at the hotel you got us.
Yeah. It was a nice spot. It looked,
Yeah, it
the
was
pictures
really
looked
nice.
really nice.
Yeah.
And that was for Thursday night.
Thursday and Friday night.
Night.
Yeah. And we got massages on
Ooh.
Ooh.
These,
What
right?
kind? Man, woman?
Or
Mine was a
erotic.
woman. Woman.
Man,
90.
woman, or what?
Or erotic. What if they told you when you checked in, like, here's how it works. You can request a man or a woman or erotic. Request erotic, they enter with a big face mask on. So you don't know if it's male or female.
That's not erotic. That's scary.
And like an x-ray vest so you can't tell what their body.
No, none of that.
They're wearing a hazmat suit and a big, scary Halloween mask. But it'll be erotic. That's the upside. Okay, anyways. French Laundry.
Yeah.
So you sit down. You said you like the environment.
Yes, it was great in a house, and we got seated by a fire.
And then you learn really quickly when you sit there that they only serve stuff they're growing across the street. Like there's nothing that they don't go shopping for anything.
And it's not snobby. Like some of them, like the higher end ones, are a little snooty.
Yeah.
No.
I've been to a few snooties.
Yeah, everyone was very friendly, very nice. The general manager that you were emailing with was there. He came over to talk to us for a while.
Wonderful. He was so helpful. Michael, what a hero. He saved the day. Yes. Okay. And then how many courses? Like
It was like 15. Well, it was like 15 because the dessert was like 6.
Yeah.
It was just like, here's a shitload of desserts.
right.
Tasting
and
menu.
in French Laundry, they change the menu every day or every other day. It's all about what's seasonal, which is really fun because you can go there and have a different experience every time. But they have some staples. One of them being
The oysters
diamonds and pearls.
The oysters and pearls.
Right. Which
was-
I hate both those items
Yeah.
individually. And I thought it was so delicious. It was crazy.
Yeah. That was my favorite dish. It's caviar with oysters and this
Yeah.
like creamy, crazy broth.
Yeah. And is that the one where they give you the mother of pearl spoon to eat it with?
Yeah.
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 Oh.
But you still shoot the oyster?
No, it's just like in the sauce. You just eat it.
Oh, got it.
It's
Interesting.
outrageous. And I hate both those ingredients.
I like both.
Did you get the truffle option?
I did the mac and cheese truffle.
And did the guy come out with a little case and open up the
He
case?
showed you it and then just like
Shaved it
buried
on.
the mac and cheese and truffle.
And did you ask him how much those truffles were? Because I did.
I did not, what, like $400 to $600 probably?
Oh no, the one he was holding one that was $2,800.
$2,800.
Yes. And there was like 5 of them in there. And then the other thing that they always have, I think, is donuts and coffee. Is that what they
The
call it?
donuts and coffee at the end, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun.
And they're the yummiest cinnamon donut balls.
Yeah, little like beignets.
So do you give it a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, I would give it a 10 out of 10. And then they bring you back into the kitchen after.
Oh, I like that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the French style.
Except they were closing because it was so late.
Did they have any merch?
They gave us, I mean, you get like the menu. They gave us
Right.
shortbread cookies and
But no teas.
chocolate. No tea.
Okay.
And did they have Starbucks mugs in there that said Starbucks French Laundry?
Oh my God. I wouldn't have been able to get it until I went.
Right, right. But you could covet it.
Yeah.
You could have them
I
bring
do.
it.
I already do.
You already want it. Oh, when we were there was a man by himself eating next to us.
Oh, yeah.
And I started chatting with him. And this was the sweetest thing I had ever really encountered. I said, have you been here before? And he said, oh, yeah. My wife and I used to come here on our anniversary every year. It was our big trip every year. And since she's passed, I still come on our anniversary. Yeah, by himself.
He was there when I was there.
No.
No.
Oh, I was like, he's a fraud.
Yeah, he's got 2 anniversaries because ours was right before
He has
Christmas.
so many wives.
It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's 3 hours. You're way too full.
I mean, I didn't finish all my desserts.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
By the end, I felt like that in Spain. Like, I can't. How much? Like, it's a struggle.
You have to pace yourself.
Yeah, it's a big struggle, but you just do it. Callie had to take a walk in the middle of one.
Oh, wow. Stretch out a little bit. Get her blood moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's great about that experience, too, is that, as you said, there's 27 courses. And after each one, I'm mad I can't have more of that dish I just had, which is kind of the dream.
Yeah.
I wanted more of every single one, and I got too full.
Well, we had, because I was also trying Natalie's. So we
It's
were.
7 courses. It says 7 things to know before having 7 courses at the French Laundry. You'd think you guys just made it sound like
Well, hold on. He's counting his menu.
There's 15.
15.
Including each individual dessert.
That's individual desserts.
Okay,
yeah.
and but they bring out as one course.
Right.
Okay, so that
and there was like an amuse-bouche that wasn't listed here, and there was like
secrets,
chocolates that they had at the very end too. They let you pick out any ones that you wanted.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Disneyland of eating, I think. It's like you should go once in your life if you can.
I mean, that's all these Michelin's, not all, but many of the multiple Michelin star restaurants are like that.
How many do they have?
They have 3, which is the most you can have.
Really?
Yeah.
How many restaurants in the world have 3?
Let's see.
That's kind of a build it and they will come scenario. Because they're just up in the middle.
13 U.S. restaurants.
Have 3 Michelin stars. 13. Should we?
In the U.S. Can we go to all of them?
Yeah, we should make that a thing.
Okay, let me read them all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Addison in San Diego.
What? That's local.
Let's go there. There's a lot in San Francisco. Okay, Addison, San Diego, Benue, Quince, Atelier Cren.
Atelier, ding, 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 the word of 2023.
French Laundry, Single Thread.
Ooh, what's that?
That's in Heldsburg.
In Austria?
No, USA.
Heldsburg?
California.
Oh my gosh.
Also California? Okay.
Oh my god, okay. Sounds like 6 or 7 of them are here.
Yeah.
Right. Alinea, the Inn at Little Washington. That's Washington.
State or DC?
State.
Washington, Virginia, it says.
Oh my god, guys.
This says,
a
I don't like
mess.
these because it just says the country. Washington, USA. That's confusing. Okay. Chef's Table at Brooklyn Fair. That's New York, obviously. 11 Madison Park.
You knew that one?
Yep, I knew that one. Per se.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Masa. Oh, I've heard of that one recently. That's supposed to be good, really good. And La Bernardin, also New York.
Oh my god. So either New York or California is where you got to be.
Okay, let's do.
Or Washington, Oregon.
Or
Washington,
Heldsburg.
Chicago, or Heldsburg, Kentucky.
I haven't been to any of these. Oh,
I've only been to
what am
one.
I doing with my life? But let's look up how many have 3 in the world. How many restaurants have 3?
142.
142.
France and Monaco have 31.
Oh.
Japan has 21. United States has 14.
Oh, wow, we're getting blown away.
Spain has 13.
Do you think they just weren't sniffing around here or we just didn't have it? Probably we just didn't have it.
What?
That maybe the Michelin folks weren't sniffing around here, though, because it's Michelin Tires is a European company.
No, they know that Americans are stupid.
18 countries.
Okay.
So travel.
In Spain, there's 2. Aguilare, been there. I have been to 3. In Spain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're the leader now.
Well, no, because I haven't been to any in the U.S. He's been to Alinea and French Laundry.
2.
Do you have any others?
Not out of.
So he's
US.
2 out of, I'm 1 out of whatever you said, 54. You're 3 out of 54.
Thank
You're the
God.
leader.
No, out of 142.
Out of 142. That's about 2.8%.
I'm going to go to Sketch in London when I'm in London with my family. Ooh, there's 2 more in London. Maybe I'll do all of them.
Okay, get them all done. So if there's 142, we could do 142 episodes.
Podcast?
Yeah, side project.
Ah!
Yeah, and then somehow they have to give us these meals.
Well, should we set up an email for Michelin star?
If they want
people to
to
submit,
invite us?
To invite us?
Yeah.
There's one in
Absolutely.
Taiwan.
Oh my gosh, I'll go.
We're
I'll
gonna-
buy a semiconductor and I'll have a Michelin star meal.
I think we'll start small. We'll start
In
with
San
the
Diego.
quick trip
Addison.
to San Diego.
That
Yeah.
one's 2022. It was awarded it, so it's a new one.
Oh, great. What's the name of that one?
Addison.
Addison, so please invite us and pay for our meal. And then if we don't like it, we'll pretend we didn't go there. And if we loved it, then we'll talk about it.
Chef William Bradley.
Or in New York, Eric Repair, Thomas Keller.
Maybe we should just start with trying to get into all of Thomas Keller. We already have a foot in the door. It's settled. We have a new show. People love listening to
We should call
eating.
it misophonia.
Yes. We'll call it misophonia.
Michelin misophonia. I mean, we have the best conversations over dinner.
But the food, what if the food's so good it's distracting and like we have to focus?
Yeah, it'll be hard. That will be what's
Part
interesting.
of the challenge.
Yeah. We love a challenge. Wow. Well, I'm glad that it was so fun.
Me too.
Yes.
Too.
Thank you again.
Oh, yeah. It makes me so happy that you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I was
it was
afraid it
incredible.
was too old-fashioned for
No.
you. No.
No, classics are classics for a reason.
They are for a reason. It's come to find out.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
AMG.
Yes.
I had a whole sitch this weekend.
Oh, you had a textbook Monica story for everyone. No,
No, I need my own theme song.
Okay.
Do you think it's even possible to create your own? Like, if you right now are going to make a theme song for me.
That's totally original.
Yeah.
Yes, but it has to be so unappealing that no one would have thought. So it goes.
It sounds like the robot made that.
Yes, he's got a keyboard. For Christmas, he got a Casio keyboard. He thinks he's a DJ now.
Oh my God, because real boys are DJs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I went to my witch,
Yes.
and everything was fine when I drove there.
Yeah.
Things are great.
I didn't ask that question because I didn't want to try to establish blame, but I was wondering if you had run over a screw or if you had grabbed a curb and blew out the sidewall.
Right, neither.
Oh.
That's why it's confusing. So everything's fine. I park, everything's fine. Go in, go see my witch, come out. I get in the car immediately. It's like, check tire pressure. It's at 12.
Okay.
I was like, what the hell? So I pulled over. I'm in Beverly Hills, as I always am now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big, I'll show you a picture.
Oh, there's a picture.
Yeah, I took a pic. Because, of course, at first I thought,
What if it's just a picture of Beverly Hills?
I was like, somebody slashed my tire. That's what I thought.
Oh my God, you thought someone slashed your tire.
Because look at it. Like, it's weird. Let me send it to you,
didn't-
Rob, too. It didn't come?
It didn't come. Oh, here we go. Accept.
Okay. Now.
Yeah, you hit a curb.
No, I didn't. When I went to you're making me cut to the end, but he said
okay.
this has been happening a lot in the city, and it's the potholes, and he said that's what it was.
okay. Yeah.
I hit curbs.
It's a rupture is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
Something was hit and it split.
Right.
Yeah.
I hit curbs all the time, so I have no problem saying that.
Admitting that.
Yes, but I didn't.
God, there was some great meme on National Women's Day. It was so funny. I can't remember what it was paired with, but it was just a picture of the most scuffed up wheel you ever saw. It says like Happy International Women's Day.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
Uh,
So good.
So first I called my dad.
Me or your other dad?
My
'Cause
dad.
you called me.
I called my dad first.
Okay, you got the first call.
Yes, and I asked him if I had AAA still. Because he handles the AAA.
That's right. For the family.
Right.
He's got a family policy.
Yes.
Yep.
And he said, yes, you do. And I said, okay, so it's probably the same number as this old one I have. Great. He said, yeah. And then, but then he's asking me all these questions, and I don't really have time to talk to him.
You got enough on your plate.
Yeah.
You got a flat tire.
He was like, is there a spare? I said, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, some of the new cars don't have them. And I was like, well, where would it be? And then he was like, in the trunk. So then my trunk is full of shit, if anyone can remember.
Yeah.
So then I'm like picking up all the shit, looking at, there is something under there, but there's no tire.
Okay.
So
I didn't even put you through that because I'm like, you're not going to put the spare on.
But I thought maybe AAA, and then I could at least get it back home.
Right.
Because I didn't want to be stuck in Beverly Hills. But there was no tire in there.
Right. It probably has run flats. So
It does.
Yeah, it does. So you could have driven.
All the way home?
Technically, you probably could have, but you're not supposed to go over 30. I forget what that. You'd have to look, but you have to keep the speed low. It's going to handle completely different.
Yeah.
And there is a chance then it comes separated from the rim, and now you fucking ruin your rim, and now you've got a $1,500 thing you got to put on in addition to the tire.
Right.
So,
okay. So, and then my dad's like, so what else is going on? I'm like, I can't talk.
Got a 3-alarm fire on your hands.
Yeah. I was like, I gotta go. And then I just said bye hurriedly and got off. And I feel really bad because he was saying bye, love you. And I accidentally hung up in the middle. But it was an accident.
Yeah, but that doesn't come easy for him.
No, he always says that at the end.
He does?
He didn't say it like, Monica,
I need to tell you
love
something.
you.
I love you so much.
No, he didn't. It
I'm
was
so
just
proud of you for this flat.
It was part of the sign off.
Right, okay.
But I still felt guilty as it was hanging and I could hear it. But
Yeah.
I didn't have time to call him back.
Right.
Then, of course, I was like, well, what if like something happens to him and then...
Right.
So...
Sent you spinning.
Yeah. So then I had to call AAA. I'm waiting. It is hot. Thank God.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to balance being annoyed
Gratitude,
and gratitude. I was like, could be much worse because there was this bad accident in front of my apartment the day before. A car rolled.
Oh,
was
boy.
on its side. And there were so many fire trucks and like they were using like the
crane and stuff.
it was
Okay.
scary. So I kept thinking, well, that didn't happen today. So that's good. The guy comes, he says, you're going to need to call the tire shops. And I said, okay, there's a Midas right down the street. And he said, that's not a tire
That's
shop.
mufflers, yeah.
I said, are you sure? He was like, yeah. It's like, oh God. Okay. So then he was really helpful.
Oh, good.
And he was like, tried this place. And then I tried a few places. Oh, I forgot. Before that, I called you.
Yep.
After I talked to my dad, I thought, my dad is not helping. He's causing harm. But I needed to know, are these tires,
Okay, so after I talked to you, what I regretted not saying to you, and now it sounds like it has occurred to you.
Yeah.
I should have told you, as long as they have the size, don't worry about matching the brand.
That's what I was
Because you
wondering.
really run into an issue when you start calling these tire places.
Yep.
They have the exact Michelin TC3 sport water model, blah, blah, blah. But you just really need the size and then the same speed rating is all you really need.
See, yeah. So that's
Because I was like, once
wondering.
this occurred to me after you told me none of the tire shops you called had the tire.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, they had that size. It's not a rare size.
Yeah.
But they didn't probably have the exact tire.
But yeah. Okay, so both of my dads failed me that day.
Yep.
Okay.
It didn't occur to me to say that. I wouldn't have thought that the tire shops would have made a big deal. I thought they would be just trying to sell you whatever they carry.
Well, they were, but that's why that was my fear because this is a fancy fucking car. I don't know anything about it. Probably need a specific tire. It's like you need this specific gas. Like that's sort of
Right.
what I was thinking. Anyway, I said, should I take it to the dealer? Is that a big waste of money? You said, yes, it is probably a waste of money,
But not that much.
but not that much.
They can only
more.
charge you so much for a tire.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, whatever.
If it were their fucking Mercedes-Benz rotors, I'd go, no.
well, that's
the
probably
tire.
what I got.
No, but the tire is
Oh,
not even made by them.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I don't know what they could mark it up. But at any rate.
So, yeah, okay. So then the AAA guy helped me get the size of the tire.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, do you have this size Continental?
Oh,
No
right.
one had
No.
Continental.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
But someone said I have Pirelli.
Great tires.
And I said, no, bye. And I hung up.
Continental or bust.
My dad said I had to be Continental.
No, yeah, I should have thought that.
So after 3 tire shops, I said, fuck it. We got to just go to the dealership. So
Well, luckily you were in.
Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
yes. So they drove me to the dealership and I waited and waited and waited. And then finally this guy, quote, did me a favor. He said many times he was going to be my hero.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm going to be your hero.
and like basically like get me to the front of the line, like help me like cut the line, I guess.
Sure.
And he said there were so many tire issues that came in that day and over, like, it's been a crazy problem. He was an interesting, I'm not going to name him.
Okay.
But he was an interesting elderly gentleman.
Okay.
And he
What's
was
elderly?
a curmudgeon.
Oh, he was a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what's elderly to you at 35 years old?
My guess would have been 70s.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we still have the same.
Was it going on the
I don't know,
same?
like 55 to you is elderly? Could be. That's
No, as I
20
get
years old.
older, it will be higher.
Right, of course. That's why I was wondering if we have a 12-year gap in our...
Right.
But no, 70s elderly.
Well, and so he was obviously confused at why I had this car, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. When I'm sitting there, I'm confused at why I have this car.
Right.
I feel like Pretty Woman there. I don't know any of the answers to any of the questions.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Are you the original owner of this car?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yes," but then I had to say, "Yes, but it was purchased for me." And then I hated saying
Why
that.
did you have to say that?
Because I knew something was up. He was like on the computer and he was looking
Would
confused.
it say my name in there?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
I told you I still get so many emails about the
Well,
car.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he was like, "It says Shepard Dax," and I said, "Yes, yeah, he purchased the car." And then he was like, "Oh, okay."
No problem.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills. I'm sure a lot of people are getting cars purchased for them.
Yeah, but
You didn't like
I
that.
wanted to say like,
Yeah.
but I could have bought it.
Yeah, I got enough money to buy this. I know. Yes.
But
It
I
was a-
didn't.
You just tell him it's a bonus.
No, I didn't want to get into the
You
whole.
just tell him the whole thing. It was a bonus.
didn't
I had
want-
said no to the first bonus.
I can't get into
So then
that.
he went and bought this car because he knew I couldn't really return that. It was kind of a passive aggressive way for him to give me a bonus
I did not want to get into that.
to the bonus.
Yeah, the bonus part. So no, I just said yes, that he bought it. And well, I thought, maybe that will help. Maybe he knows you.
Too old.
Yeah, I think. I don't think he
Yeah.
knew you,
No,
unfortunately.
clearly.
And he said, "Okay, so you go sit in the waiting room and I'm going to be your hero."
Mm.
Okay, great. So I'm like, great. This is going to get done in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what that means
That's
to me.
It's exactly.
You're not hero status if you bring anything in past an hour.
Exactly.
Right.
So I am waiting for so long, and I keep thinking I could be like walking around Beverly Hills, my favorite place.
Your favorite place. You could have spent,
So much money.
yes.
Minutes are going by. Finally, I like run into him, and he was like, "Oh, I was looking for you." I was like, "Well, I'm in the space you
Wait,
told me to
yeah.
be." And he said, "I called this number, but it's not. Maybe isn't not your number," and it wasn't. And I thought, "Oh, but it wasn't yours." So I was like, "It's probably
Altman's?
Howard's."
Yeah.
So, and then I had to say, "Oh yeah, that's my business manager probably." And he's like,
The whole thing sounded
who
like a
is this
scam at
person?
this point. Yeah.
Oh, and then earlier he had a QR code.
Okay.
And he said, "You're young. This is for your generation. You're young. So you can scan this and my contact information will pop up. You save it in your phone. You can scan it because you're young."
Great.
And I said, "I'm not that young. I'm 35. I had to make that clear.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're young." And I was like, "Okay, I guess."
Yeah,
to him.
relative. Half
Yeah.
his age.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 70. Hey,
But I think he thought I was like 16.
I think, well, you thought he thought
I-
that.
yeah,
You
exactly.
felt like a little
I felt
underage girl
16.
who didn't belong there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time is passing. We're like 2 hours in at this point. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, he comes. I run into him again. He says, "Oh, they said you have to have the other tire on the front is running really low, and you have
Bullshit.
to replace it."
Bullshit. No way.
This is why
what do you have,
I can't.
What do you have, 4,000 miles on that car?
I said yes. What else am I gonna do, Dax?
I know.
I'm a prime
I hate
suspect.
these people.
I'm a prime
I hate
suspect
these
for,
people.
But also,
Let me just say, no.
really?
What do you have on that car? 4,000 miles?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, guess what? Those tires are good for like 20 plus
But
thousand.
if I'm like the person in the meme, I might need it.
I asked you that when my tire was flat too, if I needed to replace
Yeah.
the pair or just the one.
Yeah.
Because I knew that they were going to try to sell it in a pair.
I know.
He didn't at first. Like I signed everything for one. He didn't do that until it went to the away.
Well, by the way, this is all a strategy.
Ugh.
It's the same way when you buy a car. They have a built-in backstop, which is, yeah, I'm going to give it to you for this. I'm the salesman. Now I just got to take this whole thing to my finance manager. Now the finance manager becomes the bad guy. He's like, well, look, so I guess we're going to have to make the payments, blah, blah, blah. Like they've always got a way. So it's like, this guy's a good guy, but then he just found out from his technician, you're going to have to do both tires, which is horseshit. Oh.
All right.
Boy. Okay. Well, anyways.
Well.
By the way, what will wear out way sooner on your car than the fronts or the rears, because it's rear-wheel drive. So all the friction, the massive amount of friction's happening in back. So the notion that your front tire... But I sit
in the front and I have big boobs.
Okay, well, then that might explain it. Yeah.
That's what they said. They said it must be.
Must be these knockers.
Okay, so I said, okay, great. Also, at this point, they've worn me down. I'm sitting there for hours. I'm like, just do it.
Yeah, get it done.
Do whatever, however many.
Fuck
do
me,
all
however
the
you
tires.
Gotta do. Yeah.
Give me a new car.
Engine.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But I need to leave. Then he goes, I'm waiting again. And he keeps saying, I'm your hero. Like, he's still acting like he's doing me a favor in this.
Yeah, he didn't want to give up that role of hero. He was enjoying that.
Well, he made it seem like if he wasn't doing what he was doing, it would
be next week you'd get your car. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
So eventually I go and I'm going to go walk around.
Yeah.
Can you just call me when it's done?
Yeah.
He said yes. So then I walked.
He said, I'm young, so I'm going to go walk around and shop because I'm young. I like to shop.
And I went to Rodeo.
I
went into Celine. I bought some sunglasses. That was a whole thing because the computer jammed when they were trying to print the receipt, and I was standing there for like 20 minutes, and I thought, this
wasn't your day.
This is not a good day.
Yeah.
Then I went to the Gucci shop across the street because I wanted a hat, and they didn't have the hat.
Oh, man. Okay.
Did you return with a whole bunch of shopping bags?
Only Celine. But yeah, so then he calls, he says, the car's ready. Great. I walk back, sweating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there, and he's taking so long to process. He's on the phone about another person's car. I'm just like, can we, what is, I hate this. It's 4:00.
Your whole day.
This happened, I left my witch at 11.
5-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So that was that. I got 2 new tires.
Oh, good. Well, I guess that's great. Oh, I'm so mad they forced you to get a second tire.
I should have checked with you, but I couldn't.
I know. Yeah. You get to the point where you're just like, I don't fucking just get me out of here.
Yeah. And I don't know enough. I just don't know enough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No one does.
I know.
Yeah. I was even thinking about that. I was noting in my mind that like when you're walking through Michigan or even driving through neighborhoods, I'd say like 1 in 10 driveways you pass, there's a dad working on a car.
Yeah.
He's got the ramps out or he's got the jack out or he's out there with even a polishing kit, something.
Yes.
And I can't speak to other states, but just I know Michigan, like 1 in 10 dudes is out there wrenching on his car. And I was thinking just in LA, you don't ever see someone fixing their car.
Except you.
Except me. Yeah.
I did think when I'm sitting there, I thought, is this something Dax could have just replaced for me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, could we have just bought a tire, got this
and
thing
me mounted
home?
it?
Yeah.
I cannot mount a tire.
Okay, that's
because you need a
good.
machine for it.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I can plug your tire, which I've done a few times, I think.
Yep.
But not a side wall gash. I can't. I'm embarrassed to say. I almost couldn't say it. I can't fix that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a structural collapse.
No, I'm glad.
Yeah, if it was just like a nail in your tire and I could have plugged it and
then I took
2.5
5
minutes,
hours.
yeah, that would be frustrating.
Yeah.
And if you could have just limped it back home where I could have plugged it, yeah. But no, sidewall blowout, you need a new tire.
Okay.
But you need 2 new tires. Kind of related. Some people cared.
Oh.
God bless them.
Okay.
I've got the Hell Kitty back. The Hellcat's back.
What?
Yes, the Hellcat lives. It's sitting out there. Yeah, it was totaled, then it wasn't totaled, then it was totaled, then it wasn't totaled. Like, I've never had an experience like this where it kept going back and forth. But the insurance is like, no, we're just going to write it off. Then then you got the people fixing it. Well, no, we need this thing. Ultimately, on the third go round, my man, David Jackson, my hero that we work with, was like, they're willing to do it. Do you want it fixed? And I was like, yes, because I've been I had already decided I wasn't going to get another one to replace it because I felt guilty because I had gotten a new truck.
Oh.
But I really was so sad I wasn't going to have.
There weren't even no more.
Well, this is the very last year of production. So it was like I could maybe sneak in the window. But then I was like, that's too indulgent. I can't buy 2 new cars in a year. I try to wait 3 years between new cars.
Wow.
You wouldn't know it by looking in the driveway because there's 50 fucking cars out there. But I really try to police myself.
That's nice.
And compounding that was Dodge has released, they just announced for the last year run of the Challenger Charger, they have a Challenger called the Challenger 170. It's 1,025 horsepower. It does wheelies.
Oh.
It does 0 to 60 in 1.6 seconds. And it does an 8-second quarter mile. It's like a full-blown drag car that you can buy at the dealership.
Oh, my God.
I started seeing this, and I was like, I got it.
You wanted
I think I told you this. Delta told me, we're laying in bed, and she just goes, Daddy, there's always going to be a faster car. And I go, that's a good point.
She's trying to convince you not
to buy it. Telling him, like, God, you guys, I saw this car. Now all I can think about is, like, how am I not going to buy this once-in-a-lifetime 1,000 horsepower car that does wheelies from the fucking dealership? It's the fastest car in the world.
Yeah.
It's American feather in our cap, this fucking thing. This Dodge, yeehaw, fuck yeah, Dodge.
Yeah.
Go get them, boys.
Yeah. Let's go, girls.
Let's go, girls.
Wow.
So I'm in bed lamenting. I'm like, I saw this thing. And I'm like, I got to get this car, but I can't get a car. I just got the truck. What I'm hoping to do is model for them that I want things and I could own them. And I'm not going to.
Wow.
That's the real point of me including them in this whole thought process. Okay?
Okay.
And Delta goes, Daddy, there's always going to be a faster car.
You made her sound Brooklyn or something.
Well, she doesn't really have her speech impediment anymore.
I know.
But in my mind, she still talks like that. Daddy, there's always going to be a faster car on the next corner. So she just hits me with this spiritual, like, there will always be a faster car. And she's like, you just have to focus on how many fast cars you already have.
Oh.
I'm like, but this is faster than the ones I have. Anyways, it was hysterical the way she was like counseling me through it.
Sure.
Anyways, so I just gotten over the fact that I was not going to get this thing that I want really, really bad. And probably I'll regret it the rest of my life because they're not going to make them anymore. It's going all electric. And then this is it.
Buy this car.
Hold on. I'm having all these feelings. And then all of a sudden, the Hell Kitty returns. The Hell Kitty returned last week, right as we left to go out of town.
Oh, wow.
And I was driving. I was like, this car's so fast.
Oh.
Sure, this 170 is faster, but this thing already won't hook up on the highway. It's so fucking fast. The car's so fast. It's silly. I think mine's broken. This happened when I worked for GM. We had a fleet of cars in our shop, 60, 70 deep. Often we had 4 Camaro Z28s. They all had the same engine, the same rear end, the same transmission.
Yeah.
Occasionally, one would just be faster than a stripe-assed ape. I don't know why. Some variation in manufacturing. Occasionally, one would come out and just be like, wow, that one. And all the guys would talk about it, like, hey, have you driven CP3?
C3PO?
Not C3PO, but, we would label the key things.
Okay.
And the person would be like, oh, my God, yes. I think mine's a freaking one. I think something's weird about mine.
Okay.
Anyways, it's so fast. The point is, I was so satiated with driving the Hell Kitty, and I'm like, you know what? I've got a plenty enough fat. Delta was right. Are you going to buy me the?
Yeah, I think you should buy it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just keep it at Carly's and don't tell Delta.
You have to buy it if there's none left.
It truly is the last time.
Yeah,
ever.
you have to. It's like robe pants. Sometimes you think there's going to be, they'll make another one similar, but no, and then it's gone forever.
You're just
same price too.
Similar price. But yeah, you should buy it.
Okay, so it does wheelies in
Should I buy
showroom.
one?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to buy one of those. I'm going to buy.
You could have just wheelied all the way home because it was a front tire.
Oh,
you don't
my
even need your front
God.
tires. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Rick Rubin.
Ricky Rubes.
Yep. Okay.
The Ricker.
T. Keller.
Tom Kell.
Okay. The Justin Bieber's movie is called Believe.
Not Belieber.
Right.
Yeah, it just makes you a believer.
Exactly.
John Chu directed that, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He sure did.
Directed the shit out of that thing.
Okay, he said that the Tao Te Ching is the most translated book in the world.
Okay.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world.
That sounds right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And number 2 is The Little Prince.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is on this list. On Wikipedia's list, it's 5th.
Oh, that's not bad.
Pinocchio's above it.
No way.
Mhm.
Any Dr. Seuss?
No.
Mm.
So it's the Bible, The Little Prince. What does the Bible really teach?
Okay.
That's the author is Jehovah's Witness.
Uh-huh.
And then Adventures of Pinocchio, and then the Tao Te Ching.
I read recently that Dr. Seuss had sold, I think this is the number. Well, how many do you think books he's...
That's all total?
Yeah, I'm going to need you to look this up, Rob, because I'm nervous. Even just your reaction got me nervous that I've got it wrong. But yeah, how many do you think total books Dr. Seuss has sold?
1 billion.
Oh, wow.
70 million.
I think it's 160 million.
Over 600 million copies.
Over 600
Holy
million.
Translated in more than 20 languages.
Wow.
600 million
That's
copies of a book? That's
Well,
incredible.
all of the
many
collection.
books,
Yeah.
He has so many.
Yeah.
How many is Harry Potter?
Oh, someone just suggested a podcast to me.
I
The Witch
s-
Trial of J.K.
I
Rowling.
saw it. It popped up on my Spotify, but I haven't listened.
All right, there's been more than 500 million copies of Harry Potter books sold.
Okay. I would expect 1 billion at this point. She'll get there.
So less than D.
Less.
Seuss. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
think
but
about
wait,
timing.
And the amount of books, too.
Right.
Although, isn't there like 7 Harry Potters?
Yeah, but there's like 400 Dr.
Yeah.
Seuss.
I know, but there's probably only 5 that are the big boys.
No. Green Eggs
No.
and Ham. Oh, the places you'll go. Red,
Grinch.
Black, and White.
No, that's not a popular one. The Grinch.
Okay, look up most popular
oh my
Dr.
God.
Seuss books.
Rob's like one of those guys that sits in the van while the CIA team breaks into a
Exactly.
place. He's like,
All right.
okay, you're in.
There's more than 60 of them.
Oh, but not
top-
as many.
Top 10 highest selling. Number 10, My Book About Me.
Never heard of it.
Me neither. 9, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
9.
How could that only be 9? I would have thought that was number 1.
I
8,
bet it's Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Hmm.
No, it's Green Eggs and Ham.
8,
The Wuzzles. No, what's the one? The Pantuka. No, the
Black, Red, and White.
no, the creatures.
Oh.
They made a movie. Lorax.
Oh, yeah, that's up there.
All right, sorry. Okay, we were on 8.
8, Fox and Socks.
Nope, not
yeah,
a book.
yeah,
I've got
Fox and
Fox
Socks.
and
I
Not
know
a
that
book.
one.
Not a one. Not bigger than the Grinch. Get real.
7, Cat in the Hat Comes Back.
Okay.
Cat in the Hat,
The
obviously.
sequel, but comes back. This is the sequel.
Right. Okay.
And sold over 4 million copies.
Okay, so Cat in the Hat might be one. All right.
Dr. Seuss's ABC.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Number
Popular.
6.
Babies.
Number 5, All the Places You'll Go.
Okay.
Beautiful book.
Love it. Graduation gift.
Same.
Number
For my
4,
mom.
Hop on Pop.
Nope.
Hop on Pop.
I've
Yeah.
got that one.
Is this list from the same people who did the smartest animals list?
amreading.com.
What was it called again? I forget. Sentientanimals.org or something like that. Okay. Go back.
Number 3, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
Yes.
Yes, you say that?
Oh, yeah. I know all these.
Over 6 million. I think
This list is random.
But this is also like 1960. So was when it was published.
The
That
list.
book.
the-
That
Oh,
book.
so it has
Right.
more time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were buying books probably more
Okay. All
back
right.
then.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like
Are they
movies.
counting ebooks? They need to count E's.
Number 2, Cat in the Hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Number
Lorax.
1, Green
Green
Eggs
Eggs and Ham.
Oh, wow.
Over 8 million copies sold as of 2001.
Oh, wow. So way more.
22 years ago. Yeah. They got to be a 20 million. You're not going to. Well, you won't mind because Rob's giving me this information. I completely reject that the Grinch is 9.
I have another
these
list.
I don't believe it.
I have another list that's the top 5 is the same.
Okay. And they have real numbers for this. This isn't like sentient
I
animals.
know. Or someone's like,
yeah.
they've had one interaction with a pig that blew their mind. They're like,
Exactly.
that fucking thing's smarter than a dolphin, I think.
It's 2021, and this one says over 650 million copies. So,
Dr. Seuss is my favorite.
I do like Dr. Seuss
of all time, yeah.
Of all time?
The most creative. The fact that he drew those pictures in addition to the wording. Because as I started dabbling and writing some children's books, I was just thinking about, that seems like you could replicate that.
Yeah, it's really
you
hard.
can't.
Yeah.
Or I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
It's true.
if it were just the writing, that would be its own
Yeah.
insanely impressive thing. But the drawings
You're
so
right.
perfectly match the writing.
Yeah.
What a special
But
person.
I do like Shel Silverstein.
I do too, but not as much as Dr.
Betsy's
Seuss.
Messy Room.
Where the sidewalk ends.
Remember when I did a reading?
Yes, I do. There was some confusion too. I was talking about one about the girl who wouldn't take the trash out.
Right.
Yeah. And that you thought it was the same as Gressy's Messy's sassy room.
Yeah. Okay. Musicians not appreciated in their time.
Mm.
We talked about, are there any? Not really for musicians, but there are.
Oh,
Ava Cassidy, Fields of Gold and Over the Rainbow,
okay.
her versions.
Okay.
That got huge, but that was after she died. But remember, Kristen was going to play her in a movie? Do you
She
remember this?
was?
A long time ago.
No.
Yeah, she was like working on it, but she was intimidated.
Wow.
Nick Drake.
Oh, yeah. Pink Moon.
Yep. Jeff Buckley.
I was gonna say
Love
him
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
that came up.
That one's harder for me because I was super into Jeff Buckley before he died.
You were an early adopter.
Yeah. He has the prettiest version of Hallelujah.
I know. I love it. That's what blew up after.
He had one hit song, though, before then that I loved. That was the entry.
Lover, you should have come over.
Oh, I love that song.
Oh, I don't know. If that's...
That's a good one. But I think that was still after. Like, got big. And then Otis Redding.
Oh, really? Wasn't big in his time?
He died when he was 26
Ah.
in a plane crash. And then this says Jim Croce.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So there were some.
Yeah.
Okay. He recommended a book, Born to Run. It's called,
About the boss?
no. It's called Born to Run, A Hidden Tribe, Super Athletes, and the Greatest Race the World Has Ever Seen. Because he had said,
Oh, right. The running.
yeah. And it's by Christopher McDougall.
Mm. Baby, we were born to run.
Wow. This is crazy. This is a sim.
Tell me.
So I looked up my facts, and so they're just tabs up here.
Yeah.
And I had two that said Born to Run. And I thought they were both about the book. But the second one is about Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run.
Sure. Baby, we were born to run. Tramps like us.
Because I looked up if it was true that they almost got dropped by their label, which it is.
Mm.
But both tabs said the same thing.
Oh.
Two different facts
Topics.
and facts. Wow.
Well, and we did have a Michelin star conversation right before Michelin tire.
Oh, my God.
But they're not
Continental
Michelin
stars.
tires.
He said Michelin though.
I did.
At one point.
Yeah. Oh my.
Duck Duck Goose maybe. Though.
Yeah, that's a DDG.
Really?
Wow. Okay. Is that it? Let's see. Oh shoot. I wanted you to call, I was going to text you this morning. I forgot. I wanted you to call Seth Avett
Mhm.
and ask for clarification on the moment when they stepped outside after No Hard Feelings.
Right.
and
And
what
what's
they were
the
thinking.
debate, though? What was Rick saying?
So Rick saw in the movie,
Yes.
because he just says, okay, that was great, guys. What do you want to do next?
Right. You want to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. And so he feels like when he watched the movie that they were kind of like, whoa, what was that? He felt that they were bummed maybe that he didn't give them more of a reaction. Like, what's with this guy?
Mm.
They did the perfect take. And then I think they were upset with the reaction, according to Rick. And then you said you thought maybe they had a sense of fraudulence.
Yeah.
So there's some theories floating, and I thought we should check. Should we
All
call
right.
him?
First of all, let me start by saying Seth is not the type of person that would like a random call and saying you're on the air.
Okay.
Let's just start there.
Okay.
Okay.
But let's do it.
But we're gonna do it anyway.
Why not?
Tell him more.
He's also a forgiving man, I think.
He has no hard feelings
No.
and no enemies.
hard feelings.
Also, when we're telling people they're on the air, it's so stupid.
I know, because they're not.
Yeah.
Homie.
Okay, you're not going to like this. I preface this by saying Seth is not the kind of guy that wants to be called and told he's on the air.
Oh, God.
But there's no such thing as on the air.
You're on the air, but even though
yeah.
there's no such thing. And we'll cut this out if you don't like it. But here's what happened. You ready?
Oh, Dax, what have you done?
Here we go. It's not what I've done, it's what I'm about to do. We had Rick Rubin on. You with me so far?
Who?
Mr. Rubin.
Yeah.
We had Rick on as a great episode, and we're doing the fact check now. But what happened was Rick and I got in a little theoretical debate about the moment you guys had recorded No Hard Feelings at Shangri-La. It's in the documentary.
Right. Yeah.
And then you and Scott have like a little chat outside after that magical take.
Right. Yeah.
And he had a whole theory, and I disagreed with the theory. So, okay, so okay, great. So if I can represent his theory, which I don't know that I can do perfectly, but in essence, his thought was, wow, we're in a special zone. Let's see what else we can do. He had a whole theory on what was happening out there, and that he didn't know until he watched the movie what was going on. And then we had a little bit of a debate, and then this was my understanding of that moment. You can also keep it mysterious, but here was my interpretation of that. You guys, you stumbled into some little magic pocket that was like palpable to everyone. I'll speak for you. I don't know Scott well enough, but I think you are such an honest person that you got a little flare of, for lack of a better word, imposter syndrome. Like, did we deserve what just happened? Like, what just happened, and do we deserve that? Does that make any sense?
It does, but continue.
Okay, so my take was that happened, and you guys needed to look at each other in the face and say, have we really earned that song that we just recorded, basically? Are we telling the truth?
But Rick thought you guys were kind of mad at him, I think.
Yeah, okay, so Rick kind of thought you guys were mad at him.
Well, this is very funny. This is, to my mind, this speaks quite a lot to, God, just reality itself and just how subjective it all is.
Yeah, even when it's recorded.
Yeah, even when there is an observable event, there can be conflicting perceptions that, can be basically true, or to, at least to the person that experienced them. But I'm basically going to lay just kind of a third option on you.
Okay, lovely.
Because, well, with Rick, no, there was no anger towards him whatsoever. So I hate that he felt that, but it's certainly not for me. And I can definitely speak for Scott that was not happening. I think there probably was just sort of a miscommunication, because since there was, what we can all agree upon was that there was one of these, palpable moments of magic.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 times in your career experience, right?
Yeah. And when that moment hits you, you don't really know what that's going to do for you and what it's going to do to you. And depending on where you are at that moment in your life, I think that's going to inform how you take it. But what I experienced was something close to what you described, but it did not arise in any sense of guilt or shame in me.
Oh, that's good.
With it, yeah, but I think it maybe did for Scott. So that was present. But see, Scott was sort of battling the meaning of basically packaging something like that song. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like so you feel like you've betrayed some kind, like some divine intervention, and now you're commodifying it or something.
I wonder. Yeah. That's right. Because the song is so clearly it's like a deathbed song. It came to me in a pure way, and I felt that in the writing of it that I honored the feeling, though it was a very intense process, even just writing the song, Yeah. But so Scott, for, whatever was happening in his life or whatever, being in that space, it was kind of a whirlwind of emotion. And it was for me as well. But for me, it was just like oh my God, isn't this awesome what's happening right now? And for Scott, it was like, what are we doing? Are we going to sell this? Are we going to congratulate ourselves? Like he had more of a conflict about it. And I, like what you see in the movie is a kind of a weird thing for me, because what you see in the movie is me not really being completely honest, because I was just trying to make everything cool.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Younger brother.
Right.
Yeah,
I
you have
wanted
a
it
role.
to be nice. I wanted to be nice for him. Yeah, I was playing my role as a younger brother, but I wanted to be nice for him. I wanted to be nice for me. And really internally what was happening was I was going, you're ruining it. It's getting ruined.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And it's getting ruined.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget the next day, me and Jennifer she lived in West Hollywood. And I remember we were like walking / jogging around and near Beverly Hills. And I just remember like she was kind of standing in as like a therapist for me in a way, because I was like really having to process like what had happened that day, the day we recorded No Hard Feelings. It's funny how you're calling me and asking me about it, because it does kind of live on.
That makes a lot of sense too. And I think maybe what Scott was experiencing for you had already kind of had some kind of inspired experience writing it. So you already felt something internally. And then to see it executed for you is like, oh my God, it never comes out as perfect as it is inside. So there's this probably for you a huge sense of accomplishment. But whereas Scott, who hadn't written it, was drug into something that was nearing perfect and felt maybe for himself like, do I belong here?
Yeah, and also, how does this fit in the context of packaging a thing, of making a thing that you then share with people, like the concept of making a thing and then the concept of sharing it, and in what capacity you do that and how you do that. All that gets pretty complicated when the meeting is as intense as, what No Hard Feelings is tackling. But yeah, for me, it's kind of the completion of a circle, because it took about 8 years to write the song.
Wow.
And the beginning of that 8 years, the initial idea moment, I'll never forget. I was driving through Statesville, North Carolina, and I was by myself, and that melody and those first lines just handed over. And like I started getting like pretty teary, and like it was getting kind of hard to drive because I was starting to cry, and I'm also like writing down like on the console of the car, And I'm left-handed, so I'm kind of like twisted over like writing this thing. Anyway, so like that was the beginning of that moment. And then like we're at Shangri-La, we're all together and we make this thing. And so it was intense for me for a different reason. And I got to say, while we're on the topic, that with Rick, what was beautiful about finishing it, we only played it like two times maybe, and that was it. It's like moving on. But Rick came out, and like the great thing was that he was just like, all right, that was awesome. Let's keep moving. Like, let's next song,
Yes.
And
that's what he was.
Maybe he thought that we were like, that maybe we thought we were angry with him because we weren't ready to do that. But I love that to him, it was just like, man, the vibe is great. Let's continue.
Yeah, like the tree's giving fruit. Let's pick some more. Yeah.
And that makes sense. It just, Scott and I, we had some
process.
brotherly work to do.
Yeah. Well, that's a great explanation. I'm really thankful that you were willing to give it, and it makes a ton of sense. And I do love, you're right, like we're all watching the same thing, yet Rick had an opinion, I had an opinion. It's something somewhere different than all that from you.
Yeah, and that's part of, that's part of like the architecture of a relatively pure moment. I think that it evokes a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of interpretations. That's kind of one of the more beautiful parts of it.
Well, I love you and I miss you, and I'm so grateful you picked up. Thank you.
Yeah, all the same things, Dax. Love you too much, and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, perfect. Bye.
Peace.
Well, that went much better than expected.
We got an answer.
We got a second interview.
Yeah. We sure did. Okay, so that's it.
Okay, great. So we resolved that. Perfect. I love you.
Love you.